Hello and good morning. Welcome back to the second day of JD-AAI seminar. I hope you all had a good time yesterday. And as we begin today's session, we shall begin with a prayer. So I kindly request the Media Association to lead us into prayer.
All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer. Have we trials and temptations? Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Can we find a friend so faithful who will all our sorrows share? Jesus knows our every weakness. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Are we weak and heavy laden, cumbered with a load of care? Precious Savior, still our refuge. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Do thy friends despise, forsake thee? Take it to the Lord in prayer. In his arms he'll take and shield thee. Thou wilt find a solace there. What a friend we have in Jesus.
mission and reminding us what a friend we have in Jesus. So, without further ado, let us begin with the first session for the day. Let us welcome our moderator for this session, Sister Nilima Bhengra. She is pursuing her studies in licentiate and in the Pontifical Athenaeum of Jnanadeepa. And for our first session, a warm welcome to Alan Shaji and Sherin Joseph from Mary Mata Institute of Philosophy, Thrissur, Kerala. Before we start, just a small announcement that online streaming link is available, so it will be shared in the class groups, so if you can forward it to your friends as well as to the presenters so that they can show it at your institutes. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the second day of Jnanadeepa Affiliated Aggregated Institute Student Colloquium. This session includes 3 paper presentations. Each presentation will have 20 minutes, a warning bell at 15 minutes, and a final bell at 20 minutes. We will have 10 minutes for questions and clarification. Without further delay, let us begin with our first presentation. Brothers Alan Saji and Sherin Jose will present their work titled Cognitive Erosion and the Collapse of the Real, a philosophical analysis of social media through Byung-Chul Han and Jean Baudrillard. Over to you, brothers Alan and Sherin, to share your insight with us.
So as Sister had mentioned, topic for today's presentation is the cognitive erosion and the collapse of the real, a philosophical analysis of social media through Byung-Chul Han and Jean Baudrillard. So I would begin without any further delay. The first decades of the 21st century have witnessed the unprecedented rise of social media as both a technical infrastructure and social habitus. Platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube have not only redefined communication but have restructured the way human beings relate to themselves, to others, and to reality itself. These platforms, ostensibly neutral in their function, operate through algorithms and economic models that extract value from attention, emotion, and personal data. The popular discourse surrounding these platforms is often framed in medicalized metaphors such as brain rot, dopamine addiction, scroll fatigue, etc., which capture the experiential sense of mental depletion without offering a rigorous conceptual framework. This paper seeks to provide such a framework by bringing into dialogue the works of Byung-Chul Han and Jean Baudrillard. Giving a brief introduction about these philosophers, Byung-Chul Han, born in 1959, is a South Korean-born philosopher and cultural theorist living in Germany. His work largely centers around critiques of neoliberalism and its impact on society and the individual. Looking at Jean Baudrillard, who was born in 1929 and died in 2007, was a French sociologist and philosopher with an interest in cultural studies. He is best known for his analysis of media, contemporary culture, and technological communication, as well as his formulation of concepts such as hyperreality. Hahn's philosophical anthropology diagnoses a transformation in subjectivity under late capitalism. The disciplinary structures described by Michel Foucault have given way to a self exploitative achievement society in which individuals, believing themselves free, become the most efficient agents of their own domination. Baudrillard's semiotic critique, in turn, shows how reality itself has been destabilized, replaced by a network of signs and images that circulate independently of reference, a condition he terms hyperreality. The guiding research question of our presentation or this paper is, why does the structure of social media cause the corrosion of genuine thought, truth, and selfhood? This question implies a double inquiry. First, into the cognitive and affective consequences of digital structure, and second, into the ontological status of reality in an age of ubiquitous mediation. The significance of this research lies in its interdisciplinary synthesis. Hahn's phenomenological and socio-political insights into burnout, transparency, and digital crowds are complemented by Baudrillard's post-structuralist critique of representation and reality. Taken together, they offer not merely a critique of social media as a set of tools, but as a global socio-technical condition, one that threatens the very capacities upon which human flourishing depends, that are sustained attention, reflective selfhood, and access to the real. I would move on to the literature review. Philosophical critiques of media and technology. The philosophical critique of media predates the internet. Marshall McLuhan's famous dictum, "The medium is the message," which he gives in his work, Understanding Media, foregrounded the work Technologies of Communication Shape Human Perception and Social Organization. McLuhan saw electronic media as extensions of human senses capable of reconfiguring the ratio of sensory engagement and the scale of social relations. Guy Debord's The Society of the Spectacle provided a Marxist-inflected analysis of the dominance of images in capitalist societies. For Debord, the spectacle was not merely a collection of images, but a social relation mediated by images, a precursor to the image-saturated environment of social media. Neil Postman, in his work Amusing Ourselves to Death, warned that television's entertainment logic was eroding the seriousness of public discourse, replacing rational debate with image-driven distraction. His critique resonates powerfully in the age of TikTok and Instagram Reels, where information is packaged for maximum visual appeal and minimal cognitive strain. These earlier critiques share with Hahn and Baudrillard a suspicion of technological progress framed solely in terms of efficiency and reach. However, Hahn deepens the analysis by focusing on the transformation of subjectivity itself under neoliberal conditions, while Baudrillard radicalizes it by asserting that the real has already been replaced by its representations. Please excuse me. So we move on to Byung-Chul Han's major works. Han's work, The Burnout Society, which our father had mentioned yesterday, Father Stephen, has been widely discussed in philosophical and sociological circles. It presents a shift from Foucault's disciplinary society, where power is exercised through prohibition and surveillance, to an achievement society in which individuals internalize the imperative to perform and optimize. In such a society, coercion is replaced by self exploitation and resistance becomes difficult because the subject perceives their labor, even in self presentation, as voluntary. In his work, The Transparency Society, Hahn critiques the ideology that equates transparency with truth and virtue. The digital age, he argues, has turned transparency into a mechanism of control, erasing the opacity necessary for trust, intimacy, and genuine subjectivity. The imperative to be visible at all times leads to voluntary self surveillance and the commodification of personal identity. In his work, In the Swarm, he examines the political implications of digital communication. Hahn contrasts the mass of the Hahn contrasts the mass of the industrial era capable of forming lasting collective identities with the swarm of the digital era, which is fragmented, reactive, and volatile. This swarm behavior undermines sustained public discourse and favors fleeting bursts of outrage or enthusiasm. Finally, in his work Psychopolitics, the work Psychopolitics extends Hahn's analysis into the realm of power. Neoliberalism, he argues, governs not through repression but through the modulation of desires and emotions. Social media functions as a prime instrument of this smart power, shaping subjectivity from within. We move on to Jean Baudrillard's semiotic critique. Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation remains one of the most influential postmodern texts on media and reality. He describes a progression from representation to simulation, in which signs no longer refer to reality but to other signs, creating a self contained system which he calls hyperreality. In this condition, the distinction between the real and the representation collapses. His earlier work, The Consumer Society, had already anticipated the role of commodities as carriers of symbolic meaning beyond their practical use. By the time of Simulacra and Simulation, Baudrillard had moved beyond Marxist critique to argue that in the late capitalism, representation does not distort reality, it replaces it. In the context of social media, Baudrillard's theory explains why the self presented online can be entirely detached from the lived reality of the person. Influencer culture, with its staged photo shoots and curated lifestyles, exemplifies this collapse. The representation becomes more real than reality itself, shaping both self-perception and social expectations. Now we move on to the theoretical framework. The conceptual foundation of this study rests on the intersection of two distinct but complementary philosophical approaches, which are Byung-Chul Han's phenomenology of neoliberal subjectivity and Jean Baudrillard's semiotics of hyperreality. While both theorists critique the transformations of the society under late capitalism, their emphasis differ. Hahn focuses on the psychological and existential costs of neoliberalism's demand for self-optimization, whereas Baudrillard concentrates on the ontological implications of a reality saturated with self-referential science. From disciplinary society to achievement society. Michael Foucault's work in Discipline and Punish and the History of Sexuality mapped the modalities of power in the modern era. For Foucault, modern power was exercised through institutions such as prisons, schools, and hospitals, which employed surveillance and regulation to discipline bodies and enforce norms. Han acknowledges this framework but argues that it no longer adequately describes contemporary conditions. In his work, The Burnout Society, Han proposes that we have entered the achievement society, where the primary mechanism of control is no longer prohibition but permission, specifically, the imperative to maximize one's potential. The subject of the achievement society is an entrepreneur of the self engaged in continuous self optimization across all domains of life, simulation, and the collapse of the real. Baudrillard's analysis begins from a different premise that the nature of representation has changed fundamentally. In pre modern societies, representations were bound to reality. A painting referred to a landscape, a map to a territory. In modernity, representation could distort reality, but a reference still existed. In postmodernity, according to Baudrillard, signs no longer refer to reality at all. They refer only to other signs. This is the realm of simulacra, copies without originals, which together form hyperreality. In the digital sphere, this manifests as images, narratives, and identities that have no necessary correspondence to lived experience. A social media influencer's feed is not a documentation of life, but a curation designed for aesthetic coherence and marketability. The lived reality of the individual becomes subordinate to the simulated persona, which may in turn influence the individual's actual behavior to conform to the simulation. Integrative lens. The frameworks of Han and Baudrillard converge in the digital environment. Han's achievement subject willingly participates in the creation and maintenance of their own simulation, seeking validation through metrics of visibility. Baudrillard's hyperreality provides the ontological backdrop against which Han's subjectivity is formed. The self is not merely performing for others, but inhabiting a space where the performance is the self. Now I would like to pause only for Brother Sharon to continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
So I would like to resume the presentation with Byung-Chul Han's critique of social media. Han's critique of social media can be divided into several interrelated dimensions: self-exploitation, cognitive erosion, the ideology of transparency, the politics of the swarm, psychopolitics, and the laws of silence. Self-exploitation in the achievement society. In the achievement society, the imperative to produce is internalized. Social media platforms intensify this dynamic by rewarding constant activity. The more one posts, comments, and engages, the greater the likelihood of algorithmic visibility. Unlike the disciplinary subject who resists an external authority, the achievement subject perceives their labor, even in self-presentation, as self-chosen. Cognitive erosion, the decline of deep thinking. Han laments the erosion of deep contemplative thought in his work, The Scent of Time. The acceleration of communication and the constant influx of novelty prevent the kind of sustained attention necessary for philosophical reflection, artistic creation, or even complex problem solving. Transparency, ideology, and the commodification of self. In his work, The Transparency Society, Han critiques the contemporary obsession with visibility, while transparency is framed as a democratic virtue. In the digital sphere, it becomes a demand for total self-disclosure. Social media encourages users to document their lives in real time, producing a continuous stream of self representations that can be quantified, analyzed, and monetized. The danger for Han is twofold. Privacy is eroded and interiority is flattened. The self becomes a surface phenomenon oriented toward external validation rather than inward reflection. This voluntary self surveillance aligns perfectly with corporate interests, turning personal life into a data resource. The loss of silence. Finally, Han emphasizes the importance of silence as a precondition for thought in the digital environment. Silence is not merely absent, but actively excluded. Every moment is filled with notifications, updates, and the expectation of connectivity. Without silence, there is no space for self encounter or deep reflection. Han sees the restoration of silence as essential to resisting the cognitive and existential depletion of the achievement society. Jean Baudrillard's theory in the context of social media. Jean Baudrillard's works offers a different but complementary lens to Han's, where Han examines the psychological and socio-political dimensions of digital culture. Baudrillard interrogates the ontological status of reality itself in an age dominated by media and science. His analysis is especially valuable for understanding social media because it focuses not on what is represented but on the conditions under which representation has lost its anchoring in reality. In his work Simulacra and Simulation, Baudrillard introduces the concept of precision of simulacra, the idea that signs no longer reflect reality but precede and determine it. In earlier epochs, images were tethered to a referent. A painting depicted an object. A photograph documented an event. In the realm of simulation, however, the sign exists independently, generating its own reality. Baudrillard's concept of hyperreality refers to the condition in which the distinction between reality and representation dissolves. In hyperreality, the representation does not distort or mask reality, it replaces it entirely. Social media accelerates this process by privileging the shareable image over the lived event. Baudrillard also speaks of the implosion of meaning in a world saturated with signs. When every image, post, or video competes for attention, the surplus of signs diminishes their referential value. The proliferation of memes, for instance, often divorces content from context. An image circulates through multiple layers of ironic detachment, such that its original meaning becomes irrelevant. In the social media environment, the self itself becomes a simulation. Online identity is crafted through selective disclosure, aesthetic curation, and algorithmic optimization. The individual does not merely present themselves, they produce themselves as an object for consumption. This production is iterative and responsible to feedback, likes, comments, and shares, functions as metrics for adjusting the simulation to maximize its appeal. Now I would like to give a synthesis of Han and Baudrillard's cognitive erosion and collapse of the real. Byung-Chul Han's critique of social media focuses on the transformation of subjectivity, the internalization of productivity, the erosion of deep thought, and commodification of the self. Jean Baudrillard's critique addresses the transformation of reality, the substitution of simulation for the real, and the instability of meaning in a sign-saturated environment. When combined, these analyses offer a comprehensive picture. Han explains how individuals become complicit in their own cognitive erosion. Baudrillard explains why the erosion of reality itself makes truth and authentic selfhood unstable. We move to implications and solutions. Beyond digital detox, temporary withdrawal from social media may provide relief from cognitive overload, but it does not address the structural incentives that drive platforms to prioritize attention capture. Han advocates a cultural revaluation of slowness, the restoration of silence, and the defense of opacity against the demands of transparency. These are not merely personal lifestyle changes, but forms of resistance to the neoliberal imperative for constant self exposure. Moving to the conclusion, the cognitive erosion and collapse of the real, diagnosed by Hahn and Baudrillard, are not accidental byproducts of social media, but the predictable outcomes of a socio-technical system designed for maximum visibility, engagement, and data extraction. Hahn's analysis reveals the ways individuals internalize the logic of productivity and transparency, while Baudrillard's theory uncovers the ontological destabilization of reality in a media saturated age. Together, they provide a powerful critique of digital culture, challenging us to rethink not only how we use technology, but how we understand ourselves and the world in the face of pervasive mediation. The way forward, if there is one, lies in reclaiming spaces for unmediated experience, defending the right to opacity, and fostering forms of attention that resist the acceleration and superficiality of the digital swarm. Without such efforts, the corrosion of thought and the disintegration of reality will continue unchecked, leaving us both exhausted and estranged from the real. Thank you for lending us your listening ears, and we are grateful to JD and its authorities on behalf of Mary Mother Institute of Philosophy, Trichy, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Alan and Shireen, for your insightful presentation. The floor is now open for questions and clarification. Before posing your questions, I kindly request the participants to raise your hand and introduce yourself, and please keep your questions precise and short.
Dear brothers, your paper was very good and it was also very informative because especially the themes of hyper reality and things are faced by our children today. So I would like to ask, what's your opinion on this thing? Means, has our hyper reality, the notion of hyper reality, really influenced our films or our popular art? For example, all the dance or all the films which we see today, many of them have a very superficial storylines or like in a very storylines which are sporadic. So there is no depth, and many of us criticize the films today that it doesn't have a depth. So do you think this lack of depth is because of their emphasis on hyper reality, or what are your opinions on it?
Yeah, most of the films we see today are loaded with ideal things, like things which are not possible in reality. So I feel that this world is now they are mad for fictional things. I mean, for ideal things. like things that they cannot attain, or like uh, what do we say, Plato's world of ideas. But um, like it is actually a possible reality, but it is a very dangerous one. So this collapse of the real leads to a dangerous world, I believe. And if we do not control, as we had suggested a few ways to stop these, stop this causing of hyper reality, those ways would help to stop this thinking about hyper reality. And philosophizing indeed helps in escaping this hyper reality, because we give time for self thought, and we give time for silence, and we stay away from digital media most of the time. So indeed philosophy helps greatly. I have experienced this, we all have experienced this, so that would help. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. My name is Vexter, and the question that I am going to pose is basically bringing in the aspect that our reality as how we see in the traditional sense, and the hyper reality which we are moving towards. Like, instead of saying that we have to stop the hyper reality, can we accommodate hyper reality as part of the emerging reality that is happening today?
There is a danger that lies in accommodating hyperreality within our daily lives, because as we had pointed out, hyperreality is not like I had mentioned, we had a painting that referred to a picture, like an image in reality, but a hyperreality refers to a referent that is a picture like independent of the reality. So this would make us we are otherworldly, but this would make us go beyond reality. Like we would not be able to live in this reality. It would be science that base upon science. So this would cause a problem in our daily lives. So it would be difficult, or it is dangerous to accommodate hyper reality in our daily lives.
Hello, thank you for your informative presentation. I'm Perseus Marak. My question is, or more like reflection, would be this. One of the things, ideas that came in your presentation was that commodification of ourselves, so those people who present, let's say, YouTubers and whatnot. They think that they are free and making use of their freedom, but in reality they are commodified, and someone, their talents are made use of, or could be misused, and other things are there. So when we look at our own lives outside of the social media, all of us have some potentialities, we have talents, and in some way we are kind of commodities to be consumed or to be made use of, even when we talk about building the kingdom of God. So we are kind of instruments, so to be used. So what is the difference between the presentation that you make, that the social media, and how we are made use of? But in real life also, in some way we are made use of. So any reflection or thinking on this?
The problem basically in social media is that commodification in social media is that we are unaware that we are controlled by it. Like we think that we are free, and out of this freedom, we are letting ourselves be commodified. But while referring to God's plan and instruments of God, we, on our own accord, being creations of, believing that we are creations of God the Father, we let ourselves be instruments of God. So I see that as a true freedom rather than a pseudo freedom which comes in commodification. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Alan and Shereen, for your insightful presentation. Let's give them a round of applause.
Now, for their wonderful presentation, we have a small token of appreciation from our side. And for the same, I would like to call upon Father Aloysius to kindly present the mementos to the speakers. For the second paper, let us welcome Naveen Joseph and Tom Joseph from Jnana Niketan Institute of Philosophy and Religion, Alve.
We have now the second paper presentation. Brother Naveen Joseph and Tom Joseph will present the work titled The Truth in Politics, the Rise of Sophists in Contemporary Political Scenario. Naveen and Tom, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tom Joseph, and this is my colleague, Naveen Joseph. And we are honored to present the paper titled The Truth in Politics, Rise of Sophists in Contemporary Indian Political Scenario. We represent Jnana Niketan Institute of Philosophy and Religion, Alve. And first and foremost, we would like to thank our parental institute, Jnana for giving us this chance to present our thoughts. Clarification of key terms. Truth is the concept that is widely discussed in all disciplines. If so, as students of philosophy, it is fitting to undertake an adequate research about the truth. The title, The Truth in Politics, Rise of Sophists in Contemporary Indian Political Scenario, is so important in our times because the phrase itself testifies the two recent trends of present time, namely the erosion of truth in political discourse and the resurgence of sophistry, that is, persuasion without commitment to truth, similar to ancient Greek sophists. Over time, the notion of truth is historically divided into classical truth, pragmatic truth, relativist truth, post-truth, and digital truth. Truth as a philosophical issue had been a discussion even before Plato and Aristotle. Similarly, philosophers have proposed different accounts for truth like correspondence theory, coherence theory, and many more. However, there is no single universal accepted definition for truth. Yet, political truth consists of all the understanding that are crucial for effective public life, collective rule, and unified decision making. Thus, truth remains a contested concept. Introduction. As Christians, we encounter the concept of ultimate truth through Jesus Christ. However, there have been attempts to manipulate truth all time. If it was sophists in the ancient times, at present, the authorities and corporates endure the same phenomena. At first, this paper tries to explore the need for truth in politics and the consequences of its absence with a focus on contemporary trends in Indian politics in the post-truth era through the key questions like, is truth necessary in politics? Does truth exist in political practice? If not, what are the possible remedies? Secondly, we attempt to articulate Noam Chomsky's idea of manufacturing consent to find parallels between sophistry in the contemporary Indian politics. Finally, we conclude this paper with a handful conceivable proposal for enhancing truth in politics. Philosophical lenses on the political nature of truth. Truth has always been a central concern of philosophy and politics. From ancient Greece to modern democracies, thinkers have debated whether politics can ever remain faithful to truth. Yet, history shows continual attempts to manipulate it by sophists in antiquity or by authorities and corporations today. Despite distortions, history also testifies to the enduring resurgence of truth. Plato insisted that governance must rest on truth, for only philosophers, seekers of eternal realities rather than mere opinion, are fit to rule. In the Republic, he warned that political life resists truth because people prefer illusions to painful realities. Aristotle, his student, advanced the correspondence theory of truth, declaring in metaphysics to say that which is not, and that which is not is a false. Therefore, which is, and that which is not, is true. For him, governments grounded in truth and reason protects justice, while those driven by self-interest collapse into corruption. Modern thinkers carried forward this concern. George Orwell, a British writer, in his work Politics and the English Language, exposed how vague and manipulative speech distorts political reality. He affirmed that how much you deny the truth goes on existing as it were behind your back, and you consequently can't violate it. Truth for Orwell is objective and discoverable, even if constantly violated by systems of power. Hannah Arendt provided perhaps the most penetrating reflection in the 20th century. She argued that truth emerges from shared human reality in the public sphere, but this very openness makes political vulnerable to lies, distortion, and concealment. When politics is cut off from factual truth, she warned, it degenerates into corruption and self-deception. Across traditions, therefore, truth remains both indispensable and contested. In every age, politics oscillates between truth and distortion. Yet, the enduring presence of truth offers hope for the renewal of justice and democracy. Truth, the core of Indian philosophical thought. Indian philosophy places truth, satya, at its very core, derived from sat, means being or existence. Truth was both a metaphysical pursuit and a moral duty. Students were instructed, satyam vada, dharmam chara, speak the truth, practice righteousness. Yet Indian epics reveal the difficulty of upholding absolute truth. In Mahabharata, Yudhishthira, the embodiment of righteousness, utters the half-truth, Ashutta Mahada iti narova kunjarova, deliberately misleading Drona to secure victory. Arthashastra echoes this pragmatic view, prioritizing statecraft and survival over ethical absolutes. His doctrine of Rajadharma justified secrecy and deception to pursue the state. Similarly, Buddhist and Jain traditions stressed truth as central to politics. Buddhism, through the five precepts and eightfold path, with Ashoka invoking Dharma in governance. Jainism, through Aneganandavada, emphasizing tolerance and dialogue. In modern India, Gandhi placed Satya at the heart of politics, linking it with Ahimsa. Through Satyagraha, he showed that truth is the end and non-violence the means, inseparable in moral resistance. Truth and politics embedded in the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution embeds truth as a foundation of sovereignty. Its motto, Satyameva Jayate, asserts both affirmation of truth and rejection of falsehood. Fundamental rights, especially Article 19 on freedom of expression and the RTI Act, empower citizens to demand truthful governance. Article 32 ensures remedies when truth is denied. The oath of allegiance affirming true faith highlights sincerity and integrity in public service. Thus, across Western and Eastern philosophy and constitutional law, truth emerges as both enduring principle and a consent space, at once the foundation of justice and the subject of manipulation. Hereby, I conclude my words and pave way for my companion, Naveen, to continue the presentation. Thank you.
The sophistic tendencies in contemporary Indian politics. The sophists recognized that while democracy granted everyone a voice, in reality, only the most persuasive could shape opinion. They argued that truth was subjective. What seems true to me is true for me. They recognized persuasion over truth, emotion over facts, and rhetorical manipulations over justice. These features remain evident in Indian politics today. Their skill lay not in uncovering truth, but in manipulating belief, reducing politics to style over substance, persuasion over truth. The 2021 farm laws show how persuasion dominates fact. The government promoted them as historical reforms to double incomes and modernize agriculture. Farmers' Union, however, condemned them as black laws, warning they would destroy livelihoods and hand agriculture to corporations. Like the sophists, leaders presented competing narratives where rhetoric overweight truth, manipulation of language and opinion. Language remains a powerful political weapon. Gorgias, in Economy of Helen, demonstrated that language itself could reshape reality, even making lies appear as truth. The slogan, Modi Guarantee, exemplified persuasion through catchphrases. Similarly, debates over renaming India as Bharat stirred identity-based emotions rather than recent dialogue. As in sophistic teaching, winning arguments was often replaced genuine solutions with accusation dominating debates and issues left unsolved. Emotion over facts. Sophists appeal to sentiment rather than reason, a tactic still visible today. Leaders often rely on patriotism, religion, or fear. The 2024 consecration of the Ayodhya Ram Mandir was hailed as civilizational rebirth, framing political decisions through collective emotion rather than rational discourse, distorting the public square. Where the sophists thrived in the public square, agora, modern persuasion flourishes in digital spaces. Platforms such as WhatsApp, YouTube, and television debates amplify rhetoric while reducing complex issues to sound bites. From COVID-19 to 2024 elections, the public square has been resorted into a stage for performance. Noam Chomsky and the propaganda model. Noam Chomsky is not only a linguist, but also one of the most influential critics of political power and media. He is widely recognized for his radical critiques, particularly in his work Manufacturing Consent, which analyzes US foreign policy, capitalism, and manipulation of public opinion. In this paper, however, our focus will remain on his propaganda model as explained in Manufacturing Consent. Chomsky emphasizes that politics is essentially a struggle between truth tellers, namely intellectuals, journalists, and activists, and powerful institutions like governments, corporations, and wealthy elites. He argues radical skepticism towards official narratives about war, foreign policy, and national interest. In the same way, Chomsky proposes that media functions as a propaganda system, presenting information in the ways that serve elite interests through 5 filters. First, ownership. Media outlets are owned by large corporations, which create structural pressure to suppress content that threatens their interests. Regulatory laws further restrict independent journalism. Second, advertising. As the primary source of revenue, advertising exerts immense influence. Programs or movements that threatens advertisers' interests are marginalized, while those that attract sponsors are amplified. Third, sourcing. Media often relies heavily on government and corporate source for information, as this is cost-effective and promote against acquisition of bias. This reliance, however, enables authorities to monopolize narratives. Fourth, flag. Negative responses such as lawsuits, speeches, threats, etc., act as disciplinary mechanisms to keep the media in line. Governments themselves often generate flag through news management strategies. Fifth, ideology. Historically, anti-communism and later the war on terror have been used as ideological tools to frame narratives and mobilize populations against structured enemies. Thus, Chomsky's propaganda model underscores the inequality of wealth and power, showing how this imbalance shapes media content and weakens democracy. Remedies to enhance truth in politics. First, offer moral education for youth. One of the most effective ways to strengthen truth in politics is to guide the moral compass of young citizens from their formative years. As Nelson Mandela rightly said, the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. Once ethically grounded, they will naturally value truth and reject all forms of falsehood. Moreover, they will be better equipped to discern truth from lies, propaganda, and manipulation. This can be achieved through practical sections like debate, discussions, mock parliaments, and workshops on both historical and contemporary issues within the existing structures. Second, boost critical thinking like Socratic questioning. Critical thinking is one of the most powerful tools for strengthening truth in politics. Socrates remained a model in this regard as he encouraged people to challenge assumed assumptions and resist blindly accepting authority by demanding clarity and evidence. Questions such as, what do you mean by that? How do you know this is true? And what evidence supports this claim? Foster a habit of thoughtful inquiry. Promoting investigative journalism, reforming education to emphasize reasoning over rote learning, and encouraging citizens to critically access party promises, manifestos, and government reports are practical steps towards this goal. Third, reform the media as a guardian of truth. Media plays a crucial role in bridging the gap between government and citizens by articulating political realities. However, when the media surrenders to bias, sensationalism, or corporate and political pressures, truth becomes compromised. Without reform, the media cannot fulfill its democratic role. Remedies include strengthening ethical journalism, establishing independent regulatory bodies, ensuring transparency in ownership, and safeguarding editorial independence. Fourth, learning from the downfall of untruthful regimes. Spanish philosopher George Santayana famously said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." History demonstrates that regimes built on deception and propaganda are ultimately unstable. Lessons from the Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, the Watergate scandal, and the authoritarian regimes in the Middle East show how falsehood corrodes governance and leads to downfall. Highlighting these examples through unbiased history education, public awareness campaigns, and civil dialogues, citizens can be reminded that untruth in politics carries inevitable consequences. Fifth, recognize the slow and enduring success of truth. Truth in politics has lasting legitimacy where lies are short-lived. Yet, many citizens today assume that all politicians are dishonest. It is therefore essential to showcase leaders and regimes that succeed by prioritizing truth, demonstrating that integrity fosters social trust, cooperation, peaceful governance, and long-term development. Citizens must be reminded that truth in politics is a gradual process, but one that endures stability and justice in the long run. Conclusion. The exploration of truth in politics reveals a constant tension between perceptions and realities, from the Plato's vision of philosopher kings in the Western philosophy, parallel to Upanishadic pursuit of Satya, to the contemporary manipulation of public opinion. In contrast, the sophistic tendency resurfaces in modern political strategies where slogans, media spin, and emotional appeals overshadows facts. Chomsky's analysis of propaganda further exposes how structural power manipulates narratives, corroding democratic accountabilities. Remedies such as moral education, critical thinking, and media reforms are thus not optional but essential for safeguarding democratic integrity. As a culmination to this paper, we would like to sum up all the ideas shared with a quote of Voltaire that we may define truth, but wait for a better definition because there is no final definition for all time. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen and Tom, for your thought-provoking presentation. Now it's time for questions and clarification.
Thank you, Tom and Naveen, for your beautiful presentation. I think in your abstract, you told that does truth exist in political scenario? But one of the quote that you said, George Orwell, how much you deny the truth goes on existing. Can we say instead of exist, does truth survive in the political scenario? Because denial of the truth is not possible. Truth exists everywhere, whether politics, institution, means every sphere of our life. The denial of the truth is not possible. I think survival of the truth, that means in political context or anywhere, the truth is covered. So I think in this context, we need to do something to uncover the truth for the survival of the truth in the sphere of the life. Your comment.
Thank you for your question. Truth always survives, but we know in all the times there are people tries to cover up the truth with the falsehood. That's the main problem which is faced against this truth. So For your question, I would like to answer that. Truth should be. Truth is necessary for politics because without truth, it will go to the chaos of the community. Then all what the politics basically means what police state means. Police state means it is not only just a city state. It is hearing of all the voices, all the people, all marginalized, all the hearing of all people's voice, treating everybody is equal. So, when politics is not biased or hold on to truth only, there will be a exact democracy or politics is going on. So, I would like to say that truth is necessary on the way that truth is existing, but there's a try to cover up the truth always. Is it clear?
Any further questions from the audience?
Thank you, brothers, for your wonderful presentation. I just noted down the remedies you spoke at almost near to the conclusion. So, just I got a quick question on that. Like, we know that truth is petrified, and the one who petrified the truth knows the truth, but they don't want to share it, and we are deprived of it. Now we can't go to them and ask what is the truth, because they don't want us to see. And you told us about the moral composition, the reformation of media, critical thinking, and so on, as a remedy through which we can approach to the truth, and finally it can be revealed to us, at least to the certain extent. My question is, how far it is practical in real culture? I mean to say, where the people are very much looking to a short duration things, no? If there is a video for half an hour, people who don't go for that. Usually they go for the short reels or shorts in YouTube. So in that case, how far it is practical to have critical thinking and reformation of media on a moral composition? Because people often believe that morality was developed for the sake of safeguarding the humankind in the past. So in that way, do you think the youth will be able to have a critical thinking, and they will be happy enough, or they will be making effort to get into the long-term business? So your comment on that.
Thank you, brother, for your valuable question. We know that truth is a ultimate need or a quest in all human beings. When we look to the past, when it was the time of Socrates, there were sophists who manipulated the truth. It was done very widely, but even though that time there was a relevance of truth. Socrates was accused for manipulating or distorting the youth, but actually what he did is he equipped the youth to question the concepts which were already accepted, and there he fostered a quest for the real truth. That's why he was sentenced to death. Then even though as you said, there are some who manipulate truth, we cannot approach them and ask what is the real truth. But those who manipulate the truth, they themselves have in later time they themselves realize that they have done such a bad thing, or they have did a great sin. One of the Joseph Goebbels, who was a friend and devoted follower of Hitler, he himself says that a truth once a lie is said repeated 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. But he uh, he says that though words have the power to turn lies to truth, there is the resurgence of truth, and he himself have committed suicide by the end of the Hitler's regime. Thank you.
So if there is no further intervention, we shall proceed to the next presentation. Let's put our hands together and thank Naveen and Tom for the insightful presentation.
Once again, I would like to thank Naveen and Tom for their wonderful paper. And I would like to now call upon Brother Lalit Eka from Licentiate course to kindly present mementos to the speakers. Now, for the third paper of this session, please join me in welcoming Jose George and Jose Matthew from Calvary, Thrissur. Please welcome them with a round of applause.
We have now the final paper of this session. Brother Jose George and Jose Matthew will speak on the topic From War to the Other, Philosophical Reflection on Violence and Ethics. So, brothers, please proceed with your presentation.
Respected fathers, sisters, and my dear brothers. So today's paper will be dealing from war to the other. So we would like to start our discussion from the physical reality of war, or like what is war, what constitutes war, what causes war, and from there we move to the ethical notion of the other. So without any further words, I start my paper. So first let us go to what is war. So when we go to war, we can say war can be seen as a state of armed conflict between different countries or between different groups within a country. So this very definition we can see in a broader sense and in a narrow sense. In a broader sense, it can include all the acts of violence occurred, like for example gunfights, massacres, or like gang violence, which you have seen in Western movies, which affects a large number of people. However, in a narrow sense, we can see it that it is a declared state of affairs between two nation states. So in such a narrow understanding, we can see that there's a declared beginning. That means A declares war on B. Then there's an expected end. That means one of these parties announces a ceasefire. And easily identifiable combatants. That means A knows whom to attack in B. And up till the 19th century, any war which we see, we can say that war and peace were a duality. That means there's a wartime law, there's a peacetime law. During war, the nations go for war, they have a different set of law. And when it comes to peace, they have a different set of laws. However, in the 20th century, given the scale of World War II and all the violences, and also of the large-scale armed insurgencies and terrorist groups, we can see that the lines of these distinctions, that means wartime and peacetime, are blurred. And also at the same time, we can see the emergence of a post-war era. That means an era where both the parties have to work together to rebuild from all the damages caused by the wars. The wars that we see today actually are not, the results of just today. It is all an evolution from all the wars of the yesteryears. And so the most primitive form of warfare which we see is the animal warfare. That means it is seen even in animals today. So animals, they try to defend their territorial and reproductive rights, and for this defense, they go for war. However, as humans evolved into societies or into tribal groups, we can see the primitive warfare, which is their early modes of organized fighting as a community. And also at the same time, we can see some fightings for values such as glory and honor. Now, as these tribal societies and many other small communities evolved into kingdoms or monarchies, we can see that there's a civilized warfare. That means there's a longer duration and also intense wars due to the economic progress.
And when we go to the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, we can see a complex form of warfare. That means there is better communication systems, better technological weapons, and so there's a greater destruction, there's a greater damage, and also there's a greater intensity in the wars. However, in these wars, we can see that the market and the politics has a greater role to play because of the complex nature of the society. The whole society itself is being pushed to war rather than the military alone. And in today's world, in the modern scenario, we can see the nuclear and the post-modern warfare. That means even before a war is declared or soldiers are sent, we can see that unmanned vehicles are sent, or unmanned warfare means even without humans, warfare is being done. And also we can see cyber warfare, where even before we announce an attack on enemy, we can dismantle their cyber infrastructure, and therefore an attack is prevented. Now let us go to the fundamental question of what causes war, or what lies as an inherent cause for war. So in the philosophical claims, we can see the metaphysical view of determinism. That means man is determined. All his actions are determined even before. Therefore, war itself is a determined act. Man has zero accountability over war. However, the view of compatibilism holds that man is determined. However, he has a small possibility to think differently or to act differently. Therefore, there is a lesser accountability on man over war. And when we come to the liberalist view, we can see that man is fully free to determine his course of action right now. Therefore, he is fully accountable in the face of war. And when we look to the question of political philosophy, it really shows the conflicting difference between national interest and the personal interest. So the primary question in political philosophy is that how free is an individual in his nation or state as a citizen to choose to differ when his nation goes for war. So we can see some Israelites are protesting over their own government because their nation is doing some sort of atrocity according to them. And when we come to the anthropological claims, we can see that it comes from the basic proportion that man is a warring animal whose basic instinct is to go for war. So this has been developed by many biologists and many psychologists in different ways. So one of the views which we have shown here is the concept of territorial defense, which is said by Richard Dawkins. So he says it in these words: holding on to a particular piece of ground, leaving it as little as possible and appearing to defend it. That's in the book The Selfish Gene. And the same way there's also resident-intruder idea. That means the resident is there, he has a piece of land of his own, someone attacks, therefore as a defensive measure, he also attacks back. So any student of philosophy who is studying on the philosophy of war cannot overlook one of the most important contributions of philosophy to the study of war, which is the just war theory. So this theory deals with the fundamental question of how just it is to wage a war. So primary proposition here is that war is inherently wrong, except in certain unavoidable situations. So the principal contributors to this theory, many have contributed, but some of the main contributors are St. Augustine, St. Thomas Aquinas, and Hugo Grotius. And all of the just war theorists have focused on three principles. So their names are in Latin: jus ad bellum, that means where one can go for war, where military force is acceptable. Jus in bello, that means once one is in war, how one must wage a war, or what are the legal methods. And jus post bellum, that means this is a recent theory, and it is saying what are the responsibilities of the warring parties after the war, what one must do for the other or for himself after the war. So based on these theories, there is 6 guidelines for jus ad bellum, that means when all one can go for war, or when all the cause is justified. So first thing is that the primary condition is just cause, that means one should have a just cause to go for war. Then it must be declared by a legitimate authority, which is given mandated by the people. The third point is right intention. Then there should be a reasonable prospect of success. Then there is the aspect of proportionality, that means the moral good or the success achieved by the war should outweigh the bad caused by the war. And then there is the option of last resort, that means I have no other option, only to go for war. And when we come to jus in bello, that means how one must wage a war, there are 3 principles. The first one is discrimination, that means there should be a discrimination between who is to be attacked and who is not to be attacked. That means a discrimination between the combatants and the non-combatants. The second point is proportionality, that means killing non-combatants is possible and permissible only if the objective intended is proportional to it. That means if I am able to achieve a greater success than the magnitude of people killed. And the third point is necessity, that means to use the least harmful means possible. Now all these guidelines, though we have said in a strict format, they are not neither restrictive nor too unrestrictive. The fact is that it is open to interpretation according to the circumstances. And then we come to the ground reality of the world. The fact is that sometimes the cause of the war may be just, but the way the war is waged, it may not be just. And many a times we can see that the causes behind few wars will be loss of honor, feelings of being threatened. So we can ask ourselves this question: are these causes really a just cause for the war? And many a times some other hidden agendas like the pursuit of personal politics and many other power plays might be seen behind wars. So is it really a just cause? We can ask ourselves. And also many a times, as we said, these principles are neither too unrestrictive. So we can ask ourselves that sometimes these principles can be used to mislead people into thinking that it is okay to wage a war. So in such a scenario, at such a juncture, we can understand that we must be aided by something else to have a just notion of a war. So here we move on to the ethical perspective on the other, which will be handled by Brother Jose.
So far we have seen what is war, what causes war, and what just war theory speaks about war. Just war theory failed to awaken our conscience against war. It gives a sort of a list of criteria for a just war, but it failed to awaken our conscience. So there we have Levinas with his ethical philosophy, which is capable of awakening our conscience against war. Levinas was a Jewish French philosopher. He was born in Lithuania. He was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he witnessed the atrocities of the World War II. His entire Lithuanian family was wiped out by Nazi persecution. So his philosophy came out as a result of all these experiences that he had. He offers a powerful criticism against war. So for Levinas, war is a suspension of ethical responsibility. It's a moral suspension. Why? Because his entire philosophy focuses on the ethical responsibility towards the other. In war, this ethical responsibility is silenced. It is neglected. So he says that war is a suspension of the ethical responsibility. Secondly, he says that war is the ultimate expression of totality. War demands the absolute victory through the complete mobilization of a nation's resource, including its civilian population, to crush the enemy. Again, it's a state in which individuals are reduced to mere forces or objects. Their individual is stripped of their identity. War takes away the human dignity. So again, persons are reduced as a means to an end, like soldiers are used as a means to crush the enemy, as well as the enemy seen as a force to be eliminated or defeated or killed. So according to Levinas, war is not just physical, but it comes from the metaphysical desire to dominate the other. So it's a manifestation of the metaphysical desire to dominate the other. So he criticized Western philosophy, saying that war is a culmination of the Western ontology to reduce the other. He continues that the culmination of Western ontology's tendency to reduce being to a totalized noble system causes war. He argues that focusing on understanding and mastering the world opens the door to violence. When other is absorbed into my understanding, they cease to be truly other. Then he goes on kind of criticizing Western philosophy by saying that Western philosophy left out the problem of the other. It reduces the other and it gives no importance to the other. So it's mainly an egology, it's an egocentric philosophy. So the Western philosophy contains in itself the violence. It's a negation of the authority. So according to Levinas, violence is not just a physical harm. It includes any attempt to reduce the other to the same. So war begins not when the weapons are taken, but when an attempt is made to reduce the other to the same. So Western philosophy contains in itself the violence because of its attempt to reduce the other. So he says that this kind of a Western primacy of the Western ontology has to be broken. He says to affirm the primacy of ontology is to decide in favor of war. So in order to break this primacy of the ontology, Western ontology, he says that it should be broken and ethics should be made as a first philosophy. And there should be a starting point for the ethical philosophy that he says that for the ontology, it's know thyself. Know thyself is a starting point for Western ontology. He says it shall not be the starting point for a philosophy. Rather, it should be the ethical moment as a starting point. So ethical moment is a moment I realize my responsibility towards the other. It's like he explains it with the example of a hungry child before me. So when a hungry child is before me, even when consciously thinking and deciding to do something for the child, its mere presence compels me to take action in favor of that child. So that is the ethical moment. He explains his entire philosophy with the phenomenology of face. The other is presented to me through his face. The true essence of a man can be seen in his face. So the face-to-face encounter reveals to me that I have an infinite responsibility towards the other, which cannot be neglected. This responsibility goes beyond my freedom, and it goes beyond all my all the theories and my freedom and my self-interest. So the face-to-face encounter, this meeting is a meeting wherein the other's metaphysical dimension, his radical otherness, is taken into account. The face of the other reminds me of the command that thou shalt not kill. The face of the other presents that other is my master. The face of the other is not just in front of me, it is above me. It is above me, and it reminds me that the other is my master. The other is the moral norm for my actions. So in front of the face of the other, I realize that all my actions for my self-development had fatal consequences on the other. I am questioned for all my unscrupulous activities. I realize that my actions had fatal consequences and severe problems caused to the other. So before the face of the other, I am questioned for all my unscrupulous activities. Also, I am judged for my actions. So that's a moment I realized that how unjust I was, and I feel ashamed of myself. So the face of the other reminds me that I am accountable for the other. It makes me responsible for my brother. It makes me my brother's keeper. Before I could make any decision, this responsibility is placed on me. Thus, the other becomes a moral norm for all my actions. Then, according to Levinas, only solution to violence is a recommitment to the face of the other. We have to realize that I have a responsibility towards the other. This responsibility cannot be avoided or ignored. We cannot neglect the pleading face of the other. So peace is not just merely the absence of war. Peace is an ongoing recognition of the responsibility towards the other. Here I would like to conclude. Sometimes we may divide humans saying that they are Israelites, they are Palestinians. Sometimes we balance the death of 10 Israelites by an equal number of casualties on the Palestine side. So can we really balance like that? When we treat all of them are humans, how can we balance the injustice done to the humanity by an added number of casualties? So also, war causes harm not only to humans but also animals and to the environment. In many cases, we are not taking all these into account when studying about the consequences of the war. Also, the earth and its resources belong to the future generations as well, making war as an injustice against them, against the future generation. Then, as we have already seen, war totalizes the other. It reduces the other. It takes away the dignity of the other. The other is stripped of its individuality. So, we propose that only a Levinasian approach can pave the way for a true peace in the world. His philosophy encourages us to have deep respect for humanity, prioritizing empathy and care over self-interest, seeing peace as not as a contract but as a moral duty to others. In a world driven by ego, war becomes a necessary element of the world. So in order to overcome that, this fact, we have to go beyond that ego, beyond our self-interest, and we have to see the face of the other. Levinasian approach could radically transform relationships, communities, and even politics by calling people to act ethically towards one another at the most fundamental level. Levinas transformed the understanding of what it means to be a human in a violent world. With this, I conclude. Thank you for your kind attention, and also we extend our gratitude to Jnanadeepa for offering us this platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Jose George and Jose Matthew, for your insightful presentation. The floor is now open for interactions and clarification.
Okay. First of all, congratulations for the nice topic that you have chosen, right? War and violence, philosophy in war and violence. I have two questions based on the two parts. First of all, can any war be considered just? A war is a war. It is a loss of human lives. The reason why I ask is this: whatever you may say, use ad bellum, use in bello, or post bellum, whatever you say, it is all open to subjective interpretations. I can say I have good causes for waging a war. I mean, that is a claim that Israel is making every time when it attacks Gaza. We know that. Or Russia when invading Ukraine. So nobody is saying I am waging for unjust reasons. Everybody seems to be making claim that they are waging war for just reasons. See, so therefore war in itself, can it ever be just? With all the explanations we might give. My second question is, I'm a little bit surprised that you chose Levinas as an antidote to war, because Levinas seems to have very double standards. The reason is very simple. He is very non-political. He makes it very nice, ethically, face-to-face, the other, and so on. Even when he speaks about the third, I mean, it has its own limits. It doesn't go into the political spectrum at all. War is preeminently political. And Levinas claimed a Jewish state. So where is the whole question of other in this? I mean, that is what Derrida was dismayed at Levinas. And then in Violence and Metaphysics, he pointed out this: your ethics is completely devoid of political structures and historical context. So that seems to me, for me, a kind of not a very acceptable antidote, because he is completely non-political. And when it comes to politics, all that he supports is the Jewish state, without any reference to the other, in this case are the Palestinians. So where does this philosophy really fit in as an antidote to war? Thank you.
First, thank you, Father, for your question. When we begin the just war theory, we hold the position that any war is unjust. So just war theory we have mentioned here, it's a prominent theory that is available regarding the war. So at the same time, we have mentioned that it is open for interpretations according to changing situations. So there are some hidden agenda in many cases, and they may project that it is just war. So in many cases, we cannot accept war in any way, because when we think in a human way, by taking account of the humanity, we can say that war is unjust in all the cases. And secondly, to the father's question, according to his theory, he says that the ethical responsibility towards the other goes beyond all theories, all politics, even the freedom that I have. So the ethical responsibility towards other is more important than all the political standpoints and all the self-interest and all the motives. Here we have seen, as Father told, Levinas' standpoint was different when it came to the case of Jewish and Palestinian conflict. So there we are not taking Levinas as such as a as a solution for the war, but only we take only this part of his idea, the ethical responsibility towards the other. Even though he changed from his attitude when it came to the conflict between Israel and Palestine, we hold on to the first part that he has as a solution for the war. Even in that case, we should hold the position that war is unjust, even it is in case of Jewish and Palestinian conflict. So war is unjust even in that case. So it goes beyond all politics. It goes beyond all freedom. All humanity should be oriented to see the face of the other, to see the responsibility towards the other. From the school onwards, we should be oriented in such a way that the other is important. I have a responsibility towards the other. I should take care of the other. Other is my moral norm. So in that way, we have to orient the entire humanity. Philosophy has to teach the people that we have a responsibility towards the other. We have to conscientize with this. We can conscientize the entire humanity with this philosophy, saying that war is unjust and it cannot be accepted in any way. Even though Levinas deviated in certain cases, personally we stick on to this path where we should see the face of the other always. We cannot justify the war in any way. So We are not taking that later standpoints of Levinas, but we stick on to the first standpoint that he had told about the ethical philosophy and the ethical responsibility that we have towards the other. Thank you.
This is Thomas, continuing from the last question. I have always liked the just war theory for its realism. War happens for a reason. Maybe other than Levinas, others have shown that maybe it's because of the very way human beings are constituted or because of the social structures. So war is perhaps a solution, maybe the last or least preferred. That's the first disagreement. Second agreement, continuing from Father Nishant's opinion on Levinas, I am also surprised that Levinas is chosen. There were always sermons. They don't solve wars or problems. Maybe we'll have to address the very nature of very human nature or social structures that are the real causes of war.
Thank you, Father, for your question. So when it comes to just war, like as you said, there's a realist aspect on it. Means there is a aspect that, yeah, war sometimes has to be waged. And even if we look into daily life examples, we can see, means for example, if a mother cat is there and she has few kittens, the moment anyone comes to attack it, the mother cat tries to defend. It's a natural instinct. So it should defend. It's just as a, like how we say in the Indian concept of dharma and karma, it's the duty of that mother cat to defend her kitten. So in the same way, if any tribal group has their land, or suppose if any thief enters into our compound here, and if it tries to steal some of our, I know we have planted here okra, so if it tries to attack it, we will do something for it. So it's natural, but that's a tipping point where our action is greater than the harm caused to us. In that moment, a war cannot be justified. Or like acts of self-defense, the moment it goes into offensive manner, we cannot define it. For example, okay, now I'm going to theology, just excuse me for a moment. So we know in the gospel that Jesus gets angry. He gets angry in the temple. Why? Because they are doing trade in the temple, which according to him is illegal. But if we assess his anger, we can understand that his anger was never against the people who did it. His anger was against what they did. So that same thing can be applied to war. That means he doesn't act, the other doesn't act against me. And if I only act against that act, we can make it permissible to a certain standard. But the moment I act against the other, the moment I act against his own existence, there is a very tipping point. So till that tipping point, we can think about the consideration. And when it comes to Levinas, as my brother Jose, he had mentioned earlier, as he had aforementioned, that we only try to take out this aspect of Levinas because we know, okay, later as a person, he might have failed in keeping up to his ideals. But even this very ideal which he said can be applied in our real life. If many of the warring parties, just before they go for war, if they think about the other, any conflict can be resolved. And there's a Malayalam film, I think many of you have seen, Vijay Super Movie. So in that film also, the one of the characters, KP says a dialogue. That means when you look into the eyes of the other, and when you're standing against him, the moment you see into his eyes, you can see a sorrow, you can see a cause. And in that cause, all of your anger melts down. So Levinas also speaks about ethical moments, so I think we can also focus on that aspect. Thank you.
I am Sam from Jnanadeepa. Your presentation was good. I appreciate you for it. And I have a question. How can we apply a philosophy that says that we must be responsible for someone when we look at them at the face to a modern war, as you said in the beginning, fought with drones, when you don't actually see your enemy's face?
Thank you, brother, for your question. We are usually, if we take the case of war, the usual thing is that we are often driven by the ego, our own self-interest, our own country's self-interest, our own policies. So we often forget about the other nation, the other people, those who are suffering, and sometimes we may forget them. So it's important to see the face of the other in all the cases. So even in the present situation, all the wars, there is a hidden agenda behind all these wars, and all these wars are caused by certain self-interest things. So as of now, the humanity is entirely disoriented. So we have to again reorient them to see the face of the other. The suffering face of the people should actually touch our conscience. It touch ourselves, and it should move us actually. So that moment which touches us, we should take a decision that there shall not be any war. We should go beyond our interest and our egocentric nature. Thank you.
Let's put our hands together and congratulate Brother Jose Matthew and Brother George. We have come now to the end of this session. I would like to extend sincere gratitude to all the paper presenters for your valuable scholarly contribution. And I'm also grateful to the audience for your engaged participation and insightful questions. And we look forward to continue our academic dialogue in the future session. Thank you all.
So first of all, we'd like to thank you again, Brother both the Joses, for such a thought-provoking presentation for us. So I'd like to call upon Brother Rohit Ekka to present them with the memento. Now, we'd like to thank Sister Nilima Bhingra for guiding this session. And for the same, I would like to invite Father Ashok Lakra to kindly present a memento to the moderator. Thank you, Sister. Thank you, Father. With this, we come to the end of the first session for the day. So we shall go for a coffee break now and come back at 10:55 a.m. And all the students are requested to please sign your attendance for this session, which is kept outside, and please do not tear the paper. Thank you.
Posters on the wall, praying we're the ones that the teacher wouldn't call. We would stare at each other, cause we were always in trouble. And all the cool kids did their own thing. I was on the outside, always looking in. Yeah, I was there, but I wasn't. They never really cared if I wasn't. We all need that someone who gets you like no one else, right when you need it the most. We all need a soul to rely on, a shoulder to cry on, a friend through the highs and lows. I'm not gonna make it alone. I'm not gonna make it Then I saw your face, your forgiving eyes, looking back at me from the other side, like you understood me. And I'm never letting you go. We all need that someone who gets you like no one else, right when you need it the most. We all need a soul to rely on, a shoulder to cry on, a friend through the highs and lows. I'm not gonna make it alone. I'm not gonna make it Cause you are that someone that gets me like no one else, right when I need it the most. And I'll be the one you rely on, a shoulder to cry on, a friend through the highs and lows. I'm not gonna make it alone. I'm not gonna make it alone. I'm not gonna make it alone. I'm sorry, but don't wanna talk. I need a moment before I go. It's nothing personal. I draw the blind.
Welcome back, dear friends, for this final session. I warmly welcome Father Swaminathan, pursuing his studies in licentiate in philosophy, Pontifical Athenaeum Gnanadeepa, as moderator for this session. Welcome you, Father. A warm welcome to John Oscar and Brother Jeevan Sadhvik from Pontifical Athenaeum Gnanadeepa Institute of Philosophy, Pune, for their presentation on the topic, Incorporation of Migrants into New Cultures while Retaining Their Identity. Kindly welcome them with your applause. Over to you, moderator.
In a pocket of earth, I buried all the accents of my mother tongue. Yes, in a pocket of earth, I buried all the accents of my mother tongue. There they lie, like needles of pine. There they lie, like needles of pine, assembled by ants. Assembled by ants. One day, the stumbling cry of another wanderer may set them alight. One day, the stumbling cry of another wanderer may set them alight. Then warm and comforted, he will hear all night. Then warm and comforted, he will hear all night. The truth as lullaby. The truth as lullaby. These poetic lines, my friends, from John Berger's migrant words, encapsulate the plight of migrants who wrestle day in and day out to balance integration with the preservation of their heritage. With a big round of applause, let's welcome Jeevan and John, who have left their boats behind and have come to ruffle up our spirits with an insightful article, Incorporation of Migrants into New Cultures while Retaining Their Identity.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Osgar, and I'm here with my friend Chitla Jivan Sadvik. Together, we are presenting a paper titled Incorporation of Migrants into New Cultures while Retaining Their Identity. Our main argument is that migrants can adapt to new cultures without losing their own identity. We'll explain this through 4 key points. First is the unchangeable past, migration as human history and evolution. Second, deconstructing the obstacles, the deeper realities of integration, looking at the real challenges of integration. Third is the ethical and strategic need, why integration and preservation matter. And the fourth is a strategy for the future, from theory to practice, moving from theoretical undertaking to practical implementations. We'll go through each of these points in the next slides. According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, and the United Nations have defined migration as the movement of a person or a group of people, either across an international border or within a state, from one place to another for a temporary or permanent purpose, usually in search of a better life or to escape from persecution, poverty, or environmental degradation. Migration is more than just the movement of people. It is a powerful human history shaped by hope, survival, and the search for a better life. In the 21st century, migration is shaped by some of the most pressing global issues: climate disasters, economic inequality, wars, and political instability. Today, migration raises big questions about identity, belonging, and how we live together. Therefore, the challenge is not whether we should stop migration, that's both impossible and unjust, but how we can handle it wisely with humanity and productively. This paper argues that for both today's unsettled world and the future, a successful response to migration must be grounded in 3 central principles. First one is accepting migration as natural and permanent, understanding the fact that people have always moved from one place to another and always will. It's a normal part of human life, not a temporary problem. Second is rejecting myths of cultural or racial purity. We have to recognize that no culture or race has ever been completely pure or unchanged. All cultures are mixed and have evolved through contact with others. The idea of pure cultures or races is false and harmful. Third one is promoting mutual acceptance and cosmopolitan integration, where we have to encourage people from different backgrounds to respect and learn from each other while building inclusive communities where everyone feels they belong regardless of their origin. Here the big challenge is how migrants can fit in while keeping their own identity. The unchangeable past, migration as human history and evolution. In order to understand the intricacies of the present and shape a sustainable future, we must first confront the historic memory loss that constructs migration as a new or threatening phenomena. Today, many people see migration as something new or dangerous, but it's not true. Pope Francis used to say, migrants and refugees are not dangerous. They are in danger and they need our help. The deep history of migration. Migration is not new. It is a core part of human history and evolution. Homo sapiens originated in Africa about 300,000 years ago. Some background of migration. Humans began migrating globally around 70,000 years ago. With each migration, humans underwent genetic, cultural, and technological adaptations. Every time humans migrated, every time they moved from one place to another, there were new challenges, but humans adapted, not just physically, but also in culture and tools. That's a remarkable ability to learn new language, understand new customs, and build new communities. It's a natural, evolved part of who we are. Therefore, the diversity we see today, languages, food, customs, is proof of our common history of migration and cultural blending. Cultural fusion, the myth of purity. Today, a lot of fear around migration comes from this old idea that cultures need to stay pure or untouched. But let's not forget, the same idea was pushed to the extreme by Hitler, who claimed the Germans were the pure race. We have seen the horror that comes from the kind of thinking. The truth is, no culture is pure. Human history is full of mixing, learning, and growing from each other. That's not a threat, it's a strength. The Silk Road. Let's take, for example, the Silk Road. It wasn't just for buying and selling goods. It helped people share their ideas, beliefs, languages, and art. It connected different parts of the world and allowed cultures to learn from each other. Cities like Alexandria, Baghdad, and Constantinople grew strong because they welcomed people from many backgrounds. The European Renaissance, which took place from 14th to 17th century, didn't happen in isolation. It was made possible by knowledge passed on from other cultures. What this shows is that human progress has always depended on connection, exchange, and transformation, not on staying isolated or pure. Human growth happens through sharing, not separation. So the idea of a pure culture isn't just incorrect, it's a denial of how human creativity and growth actually work. Deconstructing the obstacles, the deeper realities of integration. Despite this story, the migration process is full of difficulties that need to be confronted honestly in order to create effective policies. These difficulties are not intrinsic, not inherent to migration, but are constructed by social, economic, and political systems. Social barriers. Even though migration has always been part of human history, migrants today face serious social challenges. Many are targets of discrimination, xenophobia, or exclusion simply because of how they look, speak, or pray. This happens through everyday experiences like verbal harassment, being denied housing, or being left out of basic services. This hostility creates tremendous psychological trauma, handicapping mental well-being of the migrants and the capacity to build the social networks essential to successful integration. Cultural barriers. Culturally, the pressure to assimilate to the mainstream culture is ever present, and this can result in the loss of a migrant's initial cultural identity. Key markers of culture, that is language, traditional celebrations, religious practices, and foodways often struggle to survive without institutional mechanism. When cultural identity is not respected, migrants feel pressure to give up their traditions, leading to conflict or loss of self. This is especially damaging for future generations. If language is lost, so are the stories and cultural identity that define a community. For example, if children stop learning their mother tongue, they lose a connection to the roots and family history. Language is not just communication, it carries stories, values, and memories. Sadly, most host countries don't help migrants preserve their culture. There's little funding for things like cultural festivals or community centers can make a great difference in the lives of the migrants. Economic barriers. Today, finding work is a big challenge for migrants. Many have degrees or training, but their qualifications are unaccepted. Language difficulties also make job hunting harder. As a result, migrants often take low-paying, unstable jobs. They may be exploited or treated unfairly. Despite this, some locals still blame them for job shortages, even though many migrants fill roles that are in demand. This unfair view causes tension and deepens division, even though migrants contribute a lot to the economy and society. Without economic support, integration becomes much harder and can trap migrants in cycles of poverty. Political barriers. Migrants often have no political voice. Asylum and immigration systems, the process takes years for them, leaving them in uncertainty. Politicians sometimes use migrants as easy targets, blaming them for problems to gain support. For an example, this very month on 17th August, almost 309 families were evicted from Assam, a place called Uriyamghat, where people were asked to evict their home, and many houses were demolished. Philosopher Hannah Arendt spoke of the loss of the rights to have rights. When people are not protected by any government, they're extremely vulnerable. And therefore, migrants need recognition, legal protection, and a chance to participate in the society they live in. So, Father, I request my friend Jiwan to take over. Over to you.
No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. I repeat, no one leaves a home unless home is the mouth of a shark, by Warsenshire in Conversations About Home. So positive greetings to all, my dear online and offline viewers. So till now we saw that John Oscar helped us to understand migration as a human history and evolution, and he spoke about cultural fusion, the myth of purity, and helped in deconstructing the obstacles and to know the deeper realities of integration. Here I am now to speak about a very needful topic, that is the ethical and strategic need, why integration and preservation matter. So, just help me. So if you go further, fine, I would like just to continue saying that, yeah, thank you. To overcome these obstacles is not merely an act of charity. We find that what we are doing, integrating these migrants, is not an act of charity as such, but it is a call for responsibility for each one of us. So, why are we making this integration? It is just for a peaceful society and a peaceful community, we find. And furthermore, we find the philosophical foundation. They are the cosmopolitanism and the hospitality. We find here a great philosopher, Immanuel Kant, who speaks about the theory of universal hospitality. I was wondering how he got such a beautiful idea about universal hospitality, where not to divide people, but rather to see everyone as a mere human being as such, and to see everyone as equal. And this one we should find that this is not a right of citizenship, but a right to pursue a relationship. Our duties to other people are not defined by nationality, remember. Acknowledging our shared humanity is the basis for a decent world. And to turn down this and to turn down migrants is to infringe this basic ethical principle. And we go further, an interesting idea that the benefits of successful integration. The first one is the cultural and economic flourishing. We heard Oscar was telling about our idea or the basic understanding of each one of us is that when migrants are incorporated into a new society, they take away jobs and so on and so forth. But there is a beautiful idea, the other side of the coin, which we are not told, is that when multicultural societies are dynamic and innovative, we should understand that when we call upon a new person into our culture, we learn something new. And remember, there are new ideas, food styles, art, and whatever, so on and so forth. And we go further. This is proven in a recent article that is published by American Immigration Council. And you can see the date of the article. It is dated on August 20th, 2025, a few days ago. And it says that 46% of Fortune 500 companies in the United States found that there are immigrants or their children who are securing these jobs. And to say a workforce larger than the population of many US states even. And if we go further, the psychological and social well-being. We find many authors stating about this one. Just to see human being as a mere human being, a person who is dignified as you and me. So, where we should see the other with empathy, lessen prejudice, and equips all citizens to prosper in a globalized and global community where psychologically and socially the migrants are having a well-being. Because when we respect the other, there is a state of peace in their hearts. And the third one is the political stability. We find these integrated societies are more united and less vulnerable to the polarizing narratives of radical groups, granting migrants access to legal recognition and political inclusion shifts them from an alienated group, not dividing them from us, but rather when we incorporate them with us, there is a committed role in the new society. And if you go further, a strategy for the future from theory to practice. And who are going to practice? We are the ones who are going to practice this. So the realization of the need of integration is merely the initial step, remember. Turning this into actuality needs a conscious, multidimensional approach towards the future. The first point, if we see, building mutual acceptance. Incorporating the migrants is not a one-way assimilation. It is a two-way. What are the two ways? One by the host societies and the other one from the migrants. The host societies should make an intentional attempt to go beyond tolerance to active welcome, where media plays an important role here for us to break down all the stereotypes that are built up and to accept these people. And for the migrant communities, we should see that they should also try to integrate into the new society. And trying to integrate doesn't mean to lose one's culture, one's identity, but rather incorporating a new dimension into one's identity. And we go further to the policy recommendations for a cohesive future. The first one, inclusive civic nationalism. State needs to construct a civic identity on the basis of common democratic values and legislation and not ethnicity or religion. And the second point, efficient and fair legal processes. You know, to get a citizenship in many countries, it is a burdensome bureaucracy and needs to be simplified. We are requesting that it should be simplified for these people in order to incorporate themselves. And if you go further, powerful anti-discrimination and mechanisms. Here, no more we should discriminate the other. We should enforce some laws where if someone discriminates, they should be punished severely. And this should be made aware in schools, workplaces, and communities through seminars, etc. And the fourth, preservation of culture. Public institutions, as much as possible, assist the cultural activity of migrants, where we facilitate them with many common centers or the community centers of their own community, and their festivals and their mother tongue should be given prominence in the education. And the fifth one, the last point which I would like to speak today, is the global solidarity, where this displacement due to war or climate change is international and needs international responses. This simplifies enforcing international agencies. So, excuse me. So this implies enforcing international agencies, upholding refugee conventions, and creating additional burden sharing among societies. And what are we going to conclude with this? Conclusion doesn't mean a full stop, but it's just a comma, where migration is the only continuous force in the human experience, a reminder of our resilience, adaptability, and constant drive towards a more hopeful future. Its challenges today are not too great. They are merely the expanding pains of a mere challenges today and a more interconnected world. This is what said by the Father who is here in the beginning by a beautiful quote. And we are here to be more rational and to take a braver course. And thus, as climate change and geopolitical tensions vow to amplify human migration, the populations that learn to absorb diversity peacefully and productively will be the ones to prosper. They will be the resilient, flexible, and innovative centers of the 21st century and beyond. And the last, finally, by embracing the stranger, we are not diluting our culture. We are rejuvenating it. We are not betraying our heritage. We are affirming the deepest truth of a common human experience and guaranteeing a brighter, more equitable, and more peaceful future for all. And I end. Thank you.
Thank you, brothers. You began with a very bold claim that migrants can incorporate into cultures without losing their identity. It reminds me of Pope Francis, who said, refugees and migrants are not pawn in the chessboard of humanity. They are children, women, and men who desire not only to know, to flourish, but to be more. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. Though you came the last, you are one of the best. Thank you for inspiring us with your thought-provoking presentation. Now over to the audience for your inspiring questions. Permission.
Thank you for the relevant topic of migration, refugees, and the need for hospitality, opening the borders. Of course, you touched upon the universal hospitality of Kant, but the moment you speak about the present crisis of migration, definitely you should refer to Derrida, not because I'm making publicity for him, because he touches upon this problem in a much engaging manner, the unconditional hospitality, especially for the migrants who are illegally staying, etc., because of the political problems. It's only a suggestion. Or you could also look at in a deeper way Charles Taylor, because your theme very well resonates with this idea of recognizing them, their identity, in some way preserving it, not necessarily that we should reduce their identity to our identity in the name of integration. So it may be worthwhile look at these thinkers, and from there standpoint, he could theorize it little in a deeper manner. Thank you. I just need to make an announcement. I take this occasion. The Vice Chancellor is here, so he will give a short address soon after this presentation.
Hi, Perseus. Thank you for your presentation. It's a very relevant topic of today. You have presented more or less something what we as Christians also propagate, love for the neighbor and accepting people, those who are in trouble, and welcoming them into our homes. It's a very beautiful thing. But I have another aspect to it. Think about our northeast situation, where we are in the borders, bordering Bangladesh, Burma, and China on the other side. Take the example of Tripura. Tripura was a tribal state, and then a lot of migrants came, and today the tribals are minority, they were majority. Today the Bengalis only rule there, and probably most of the Bengalis, they came from the other side of the border, that is Bangladesh. So in such a situation, how can we talk about these kind of things like welcome the migrants, integrate into your culture, into your place? Now we see it is not only Tripura, in many parts of Northeast it is happening. I know Oscar also is very familiar with this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Father, for the question. And you gave an example of Tiripura. When I presented, I was giving the example of Assam, a place where just 3 kilometers away from my home, where the people, their homes were demolished and they were asked to leave. Earlier government, they brought them, and now this government is sending them out. So it's a big crisis that is happening in Northeast at different places. And to integrate, I think, as we cited, Kant, hospitality, I think we need to take in a very deeper way where we can really see that the other person, who they are. I think we need to accept that they are also human, and they also need certain affinity from us. I think taking the Kant's idea, we can in a way integrate and in a way help them to be, I think we need to be together. Thank you.
I am Sam once again. My heartfelt appreciation to you for emphasizing the responsibility of host countries to welcome and the need for the migrants to engage with the culture, and also for recognizing the barriers and recommending few policies. And I have a few questions. Of the 4 barriers, which is deeply rooted and the hardest to dismantle, and why? And when you advocate or argue for inclusive civic nationalism, in a country like India, where nationalism is now explicitly either religious or ethnical, will it work? And the third question is, again, India does not treat its minorities justly. How do you expect, or how realistic is it to expect India to treat migrants compassionately?
The first question I'll try to simplify, and the other we will take another frame. Okay, among the 4 barriers that we spoke about, cultural, economic, social, I think cultural barriers would be the main, I feel, among the 4. Because here we speak of the language. The very thing when migrants, they go to the other place, I think language plays a major role for their communication. If they know the language, I think easily they can adapt to the situation. and it also depends on the context, the circumstances, from where they are coming and where actually they are. I think first one would be the cultural, that should begin in priority, I suppose. And the other are also prominent when we say the economic barriers. This is the main factor which it makes the migrants to go to the different place, and also social and also political. I think primary would be the culture.
So thank you for the question. So to say all the barriers are important, but the most important barrier would be the political, which I would like to say, especially in our context. Why did I use this? Because when we see, there is a beautiful expression, I do not know whether you have it or not, water under a mat. So when the water is under the mat, so it doesn't appear on the top, but it spreads all over, means everywhere under the mat. So we find, or I find politics as a means for all the other questions which you have said could be the answer for everything, because it uses media, it uses some propaganda where it makes the people to feel that the other is an enemy for you. Okay, it says that you don't have jobs, it takes away your jobs, and we find this in every newspaper or everywhere we see in every country that people are being targeted and tormented. Why? The one color dominates the other color. Why? It's just this media which is politicized. It uses these tactics to make a meaning in our mind saying that the other is wrong or the other is bad. Xenophobia. We are afraid even of the other, taking that he is taking away my job, he is taking away my place, he is taking away everything of mine. And maybe according to your question, my answer would be this. Thank you.
That's good. The last one, sister.
Hello. Forgive me if I am not able to construct my question properly, but I hope it makes sense. Yes. So when you speak about migration, there is this possibility when a host country accepts these migrants, they may possibly have diseases in their gene, like hepatitis B and you name it. So there are many genes that enter into the host country. So like people start mingling with them, and then you want to have a family with them, and then there is this problem, you accommodate such diseases that come along with them. And another thing is migrants, when they come to a host country, they may not have their valid documents, and there is a possibility that militants can come in disguise. For example, sleeper cells, they can enter and infiltrate countries. And so like how can you really know which are the good migrants or something like that?
Okay, thank you for your question. Really, it made us to question even our own paper. Maybe this could be a gap in our paper because we did not focus, as you have said, about the diseases that come from the other. Maybe we have to focus on this one. Thank you for that insight. And that it is true that militants might enter. Okay, so I was just thinking regarding this question. How can one person attack the other? Okay, I attack you, not I am insane, but because I am in need of something. Okay, when I lack something, I might rob. Okay, I am using this word rob, which doesn't make sense to me as such, because I take because what I lack, because the other has more than I. Okay, so here we could use this harm principle of mill maybe. Okay, harm principle of mill. The government should take its act or should act when it finds a person is harming the other. Okay, maybe we can use this principle in order to keep that stability or equality and welcome the others. Okay, thank you.
Sister, last question.
This question is to Brother Jivan. In your applications, you have just suggested to punish those who discriminate, to introduce this in the institutions so that we can accept the immigrants and to adopt them. But my question is, how will it be possible in a society or in a state where there are very strict disciplinary strategies and also where there is power which is centralized? How can this be possible?
Once again, a very good question, sister. Thank you. So, as it is said that it is for the future, we are in the process. So this is not yet inculcated to say that it is like this. So maybe it is a strategy that we should take up. We should initiate just step by step, where we start teaching the people that the other is a human being. He's not such as a person who is under the human being to say, but where we start treating the people as ends, not just as a mere means. So maybe as this is initiated slowly, it is true that when there are countries with high diplomacy or very strict countries to say, it is quite impossible because the brain is wired according to the person who is in charge or the person who is ruling them. As per me, we should start slowly. The process is slow, but yet it is just like what we'll call the wheat. So where we are slowly into it, and it makes a big difference later. Thank you.
So as I call this session closed, let me end with a lighter note. I have been to several conferences, but only in the philosophical conferences you can see people sitting quietly, ruminating, speculating till the end, whether they understand or not. Thank you for your patience and perseverance. Keep growing. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful paper presentation, the speakers. As a token of appreciation, I now invite Father Regan to kindly present mementos to the speakers. Thank you, moderator, Father Swaminathan, for guiding this session. I request Father Regan to present a memento to the moderator as a token of our appreciation. Thank you, Father Regan. Now I invite the Dean of Philosophy, Father Nishant, to welcome and introduce the Vice Chancellor of Pontifical Athenaeum Gnanadeepa, Pune.
Please. Okay, my dear friends, it's a pleasant surprise for us to have amidst us today Dr. Stanley D'Souza, the President of the Jesuit Conference of South Asia, who by virtue of his office is also the Vice Chancellor of our Athenaeum Gnanadeepa. And he is accompanied by the Jesuit South Asian Conference Treasurer, Father K.T. Matthew. They come for some other important emergency work. Meanwhile, when I requested whether they could be available with us for a few minutes and to give a felicitation address to our students, Stanley kindly, graciously accepted that invitation. And of course, he is definitely one of the most important people who is capable of speaking on the topic, the relevance of philosophy in India, for the simple reason he has a doctorate in Kannada literature. Those of you who have some literature background will understand there is a very close connection between literature and philosophy, and many philosophers have got a strong literature background, both in the West as well as in the East. And with this expertise in Kannada literature, I am sure he has always been a philosophical mentor as well, probably through his ministry, his mission, and so on. So I invite you, dear Stani, to come and give this felicitation address to our students. A word about this particular colloquium. This colloquium is basically a student colloquium, which gives a platform not only to our students who are studying here, but also to 10 affiliated institutes, to the Faculty of Philosophy. Of course, only 9 are here. These institutes are from all over India. From each institute, we have got 2 representatives. They collectively researched on a particular topic and presented the paper. We began yesterday morning. We'll be concluding shortly with the valedictory function. These institutes are 5 from Kerala actually, starting from Mary Mother Thrissur, then Calvary Thrissur, then Good Shepherd Kunnoth. Then we have Jnananiketan Albe. We also have St. Joseph's Institute of Philosophy Albe. 5 from Kerala, 2 from Tamil Nadu, that is Arulanandar Institute of Philosophy, Madurai. Then we have also St. Joseph's Capuchin Institute of Philosophy, Kotagiri. And then we have 1 from Ranchi, St. Albert's Institute of Philosophy. From Varanasi, that is Vishwajyoti, no? Vishwajyoti Institute of Philosophy. And then we have Morningstar Institute of Philosophy who are not here. But anyway, all of them made a very wonderful presentation. They have put a lot of effort in exploring different topics. And I think it gave a good chance for us to interact, discuss philosophy. This is very important for us also because this is part of what we reflect, the Veritatis Gaudim's demand of networking and collaboration. I think we see in that spirit of students continuing to interact, not only the faculty, so that they can grow in wisdom. So I'm very happy that you happen to be here on this occasion. So please, now it is over to you. Thank you. You want this?
Dear Father Dolichan, President of Jnanadeepa, Reverend Father Peter Ignatius, the Registrar, Father Nishant, the Dean of Philosophy, Father Jard, members of the staff, and my dear students, good morning. I happen to be here. Actually, I came to see Father Dolichan. In fact, Father Dolichan was on his way back home. But after being here, I feel it is good to be here. As St. Peter said at Mount Tabor, isn't it? It is good to be here. It is good to be here because this is a changed circumstance. Can you believe some years ago a reality like this did not exist? We used to be in our own seminaries, in our own institutes. Now there is a confluence. Staff and students from different units come together. I personally believe this is a living witness to what the church is propagating. Synodality, isn't it? Synodality. Synodality is in practice today. That's why I would like to congratulate JD and for all of you to coming together. Recently, I was reading a document of the church on school education. It speaks about 2 concepts. There are a lot of things, 2 concepts. One is community of learning. Our Catholic education should not be an institute, but it should be a community of learning. I think that's what is being practiced here. I was very happy that you provided a platform for the students to articulate their thoughts. Usually, that old educational pedagogy was sort of banking method. Professors knew everything. They used to put everything in the minds and hearts of students. Now we have a community of learning. Staff and students learn together. The other concept it speaks about is global compact. As Father Nishant rightly said, today no institution exists in isolation. It has to branch out, it has to get connected. So we need to have a global compact. And something of that is being practiced. We are stretching ourselves, opening our eyes and ears to others, stretching our hands and relating to one another. Dear friends, your beautiful topic you have chosen. I am not a philosopher, but since you have used the word relevance of philosophy today, I think that's a good idea to think about. One thought that has been, coming up to my mind of late is, in case South Asia, India, has to contribute to the world knowledge, we need to set our roots deep in our context. Otherwise, we will not be able to contribute. We may parrot what we learn from. If you remember, all this Western philosophy is evolved in a context, and we simply, imbibe it. It is good, but that should not be enough. We should be able to look at that Western philosophy from our context, from our perspectives. When you say relevance, to make philosophy relevant to our time and to our place, somehow you should be familiar with our sensibilities, South Asian sensibilities. If you are not aware of our South Asian sensibilities, you will not be able to make great contribution. I feel there are three important strands in our experience. One is, we are a very caste-ridden society. Whether you want or not, you belong to some caste, and caste has got its own experience. And those who are at the lowest in the rung, they have got a experience of centuries of pain and oppression. If you are not familiar with it, you won't be able to make philosophy relevant. Second is, we also had a terrible experience of colonization. I think you are not part of it. It's a very bad experience. Most of our diffidence, our fear, our inferiority complex is from these two strands. So unless we are familiar with these two strands, we won't be able to make philosophy relevant. And for that, and to make philosophy more, more effective for us, fruitful for us, we should look at it from our experience, our metaphors, our stories, our experiences. I'm sure when you reflect this topic, kindly consider this. In other words, to put it in a nutshell, to make philosophy very relevant, we need to have two things. One is solitude, that is with your library and all that. Second is your solidarity, in touch with people experience. We have initiated a process called reimagining and restructuring. This is a context for us to revisit philosophy, reinvent philosophy, reposition philosophy so that it becomes impactful. So once again, thank you for bringing all these students and staffs together, making them thinking together. There is one beautiful concept in Indology called Samudra Mathana, that Devas and the Rakshasas, they churn and what happens at the end? The Amrit comes. I wish and pray that through your intellectual churning, something beautiful may come for you personally, and also for the church and the world. So congratulations and all the best to you. I forgot to say, see, there is one experiment here on what I was speaking. Theology from our context. No? This is an experiment from your own college, Father Peter Ignatius's book. So this is not, I'm just speaking in the air. This is done here. I'm inviting you to make greater strides. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Stanley, for inspiring us with your words. Now I request all the paper presenters and the moderators of all the academic sessions to please come forward and occupy the front seats. All the paper presenters and the moderators. Friends, we have come to the concluding session of our JD-AAI Student Colloquium of the year 2025-26. With the past sessions, we have journeyed together, being inspired by thought-provoking presentations, engaging discussions, and profound reflections. And now, it is time to look back, gather feedback, and carry forward the learnings of this colloquium. Let us begin the feedback session moderated by Father Stephen Jayar. Kindly welcome him with your applause. Over to you, Father.
Taking some water is a sign that I'm going to speak a lot, is it? So, good afternoon. Good morning. So, feedback. This valedictory session, we are going to have three things. One is feedback from faculties visiting, from students, and from our own campus students. Then, second item, distribution of the certificates. Third, planning for the next year. These are the three things. It all depends on how long, how fast you are speaking, then we'll finish before lunch. Okay? All right, so my dear friends, first we'll invite the visiting faculties to give their feedback. Just a short one, whatever they feel. So we have Father Dr. Gulshan Minch. Yes. St. Albert's Institute of Philosophy, Ranchi. As you know, he is very young and energetic. He has a lot of students here. Some sisters did philosophy in Ranchi, so he's not feeling strange here. He's already feeling at home. Over to you, Father.
Yeah, thank you, Father. Respected Professor Dolichan, the President of Pontifical Athenaeum, Pune, Professor Father Nishant, Dean of the Philosophy, the organizing committee, especially Fathers Stephen and Father Parsius, and the staff members and the students. Good afternoon. First of all, I congratulate and express my sincere appreciation and thanks to the Faculty of Philosophy, Jnanadeepa, Pune, for organizing such a colloquium where young minds have opened their horizon of thoughts on the theme, the relevance of philosophy today. Listening and interacting from different presenters and speakers, I feel that we have touched our day-to-day issues such as political, social, cultural, religious, and ecological issues. In this way, we have established human, divine, and nature relationship in our presentations. As we end this Jnanadeepa affiliated and aggregated institutes, the students' colloquium, I recall Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, where he presents the end of life is happiness. And this happiness is achieved through virtuous living. When we live with virtues, naturally we will not forget the face of the other and our ethical responsibility that we have as a human person. When we take care of the other, then our philosophy becomes more relevant and more practical and not an abstract ideas. As it is the first student colloquium of JD, especially affiliated and aggregated institutes, I feel that we must continue this colloquium every year, and the organization or the organizing committee has done very well. So I congratulate all the staff members, especially the Department of Philosophy. So thank you so much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. One second. Thank you, Father. We invite Brother Lawrence to give him a small memento of book. This is not my book, so you can read. Okay. We are speaking about the effect of colloquium. This book is Francis Effect. Pope Francis. There are about 50 articles on various topics. Of course, my articles also there. You can read. But Lawrence always working behind the scenes, literally behind the screen. Come here. Yeah, come here. So this is a face of Lawrence, who is working all this stage management. So thank you, brother, also. Yes. So thank you, Gulshan. Yeah. Next we have Dr. Selvaraj from Arulanatha Institute of Philosophy, Madurai. He is here to just a word of appreciation. Yeah. He has done his doctorate in process philosophy, so the thought is processing is now. So he'll speak now. Yeah.
Just now he has just told me that I have to give that feedback. I'm not yet prepared anything at all. But from the first day, yesterday onwards, I was very much surprised and delighted to see. So all the young minds, have enormous ideas to put forth. I was not expecting that the third-year philosophers and second-year philosophers were able to give such a wonderful talks. So congratulations to everybody. Really, it was wonderful. So all the beautiful minds could come out. So if such a movement, such a philosophical ideas has grown up, means how much more the church and the formation and the mission would be in the whole of India. Really, it is a encouraging, promising sign that you are showing towards the Indian church. So again, I congratulate each and every one of you, also the committee which has organized the whole sessions and the colloquium. So thank you so much.
Thank you. 1 minute. Selvaraj, Basil, brother Basil, yeah. He's a man behind the online streaming. When there was no audio, there was a screaming from the audience, and then he set it right. So he's Basil and his team, the people behind all this online screen. Come in this side. Yeah. Good. By the way, Selvaraj, my classmate in minor seminary in Madurai. All right, but he was a good man. Okay, now we move on to Professor John Peter Vallabhadas, Director of St. Joseph Institute of Philosophy, Kotagiri. He has been visiting our Jnanadeepa. This is the 26th year of his visiting the professor. Let's give a big applause to him. Thank you. I think he's planning to host a dinner for all of us for the Silver Jubilee, I think. Yeah? We are welcome.
Thank you.
my first impression and the last impression of this particular student colloquium was wonderful in terms of the quality of the presentation of the students, varying from theoretical to practical, touching upon the current issues and then philosophizing and trying to make relevant philosophy or dynamic and alive, and making it not merely the classroom discipline to be taught, but to be really immersed in the context that I really found in all the deliberations, including the questions that came from the floor. And congratulations to all the second and third year students of philosophy from all the institutes. I was personally very much impressed in terms of the depth of the analysis and your spontaneity in the presenting, and also giving your own responses to the questions. That was actually unexpected questions from, you are not prepared for those questions, but you are able to answer it well, meaning that you had a very good preparation and wonderful presentations. Thanks to that, that was my big impression that I had. And the topic also had been dealt from a different angle, and all of you took interest and your own effort, hard work to put it. So great appreciation for such thing. And then the student council and the organizing team, wonderfully you have arranged this first ever colloquium of these affiliated and aggregated institutes with JD, and it has been a wonderful experience for me. And what I was thinking all through, as I was taking some notes, and my mind also was triggered of a few other questions. I was thinking that we become those who are teachers. We become actually learners from you, and we learn a lot from you. And as a father was saying, your young mind is full of ideas, hungry for ideas, hungry for application and having an impact of philosophy in your own life. How much more we have to work to feed that hungry mind. That was an impression that was going on in my mind. So it is also a sort of a compulsion, obligation for us to learn more and more, to be having a mutual learning from each of us. Okay. Thanks for such an impression and varieties of insights that we got from here. Thank you so much for all the organizers and the presenters and the audience also. Thank you.
Brother Ramin will present further with the book. Ramin is always behind the camera. Only now he's in front of the camera. So he's a man, yeah. Yes. He has captured all your beautiful faces. Hope you are smiling all the time. Yes. So thank you, Ramin. Thank you. As for John Peter said, no, there were a lot of lively discussion this morning also about the just war theory. A lot of interactions. Just war theory. After the interactions, I felt it's only just a war theory. Okay, so thank you. Now to represent all our guest students, here we have Leonie Milton from Kotagiri Institute. Yeah.
Respected fathers, sisters, and brothers, Jnanadeepa affiliated, aggregated students' colloquium is well planned, well organized, and well executed. It is really a wonderful experience for us. We had the opportunity of using this platform, enjoyed gaining knowledge through presentations, and experienced togetherness with high-spirited intellectual philosophers at this campus. Jnanadeepa is known for its standard, and it is well maintained in this event too. Special appreciations to media team for live streaming and shared photographies in online. We were given good food and accommodation. We felt at home here. I don't have any negative feedbacks. Let these positives multiply in the upcoming students' colloquium too. Thanks to Father Nishant, the Dean of Philosophy, Father Stephen Zayad, and Father Axios Marak, the organizers of this event, and their team. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Leonie Milton. Yeah, representing our JD students, we have David Lepcha for short feedback.
Distinguished guests, respected faculty members, dear friends, good afternoon to you all. So the organizing committee gave me 2 minutes, and I calculated that within 2 minutes I can only speak 360 words. So roughly I already have spoken 45 words, so let me try to be brief. At the outset, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the faculty department for successfully executing such a well-organized JD-AAI Colloquium. Special kudos to Dean, the President, and the organizing committee under the able leadership of Father Stephen and Father Perseus for their hard work and dedication. Truly, the seminar was not only well planned, but also fruitful in every sense. The theme of this seminar was simple, yet profoundly rich. It was thought-provoking, intellectually captivating, and has left us all with much to reflect upon. I deeply appreciate the effort, the perseverance, and the sleepless night that went on preparing the presentation. The presenters from the affiliated and aggregated institution of Jnanadeepa have indeed done a commendable job. Their research was well structured. The arguments were logical, practical, and organized, and the originality of thought was evident throughout. The manner in which the paper were presented, clear, professional, and engaging, deserves admiration. The use of visual aids, especially the PPTs, were both sensible and effective in aiding the comprehension. The responses given during the clarification sessions reflected depth, clarity, and openness to dialogue. I would also like to appreciate the moderators who ensured the sessions were disciplined and that time was maintained strictly. Now, things to be added, my personal thought. We can think of paper that deals with existential crisis, as we are well aware of the situation prevalent among the youth and elders in their personal lives, especially in relation to mental health. We can also think of addressing the problems related to AI and future of work, issues related to digital privacy and surveillance, and feminist thoughts. We can also think of addressing the people who are considered immigrant in their own land. The last presentation that was thought-provoking, and I recall the incident, there was a verdict of Supreme Court on 13 Jan 2023. On that day, Sikkimis were tagged as foreigners, even though it was removed after shortly. So finally, as Father Dollison rightly reminded us at the beginning, the strength of the philosophy lies in the fact that it does not claim to have final answers. Instead, it opens up avenues for further inquiry and reflection. This seminar has truly encouraged us to seek truth with renewed enthusiasm, to question with greater depth, and to make philosophy relevant in today's world. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for your 6,000 words of appreciation. Yeah, thank you. As everybody knows now, it's really a wide range of topics. Thank you. Yeah. A wide range of topics from science, religion, violence, and social justice, youth, migrants, ecology, knowledge management, ethics, faith and reason, social media. So that shows how philosophy is really, has something to contribute to every field. And the first session itself, there was a big discussion on God of the gaps. Remember? God of the gaps. Not only theologians or the believers have God of the gaps, even the scientists also, they have, perhaps we can call, science of the gaps. Wherever the science cannot explain something, they have a lot of assumptions. They assume in order to fill the gaps. So we need not be apologetic or little diffident to speak about God of gaps, because scientists also speak about the science of gaps. So this kind of ideas have come up in a very powerful way. So congratulations to all. And to represent, all right. So in general, anybody wants to make a comment, suggestion, opinion, you're most welcome. The floor is open. A few minutes will allot for that. Edwin got up to give the mic now to speak, okay? Just some random thoughts. Do you think this 1.5 days is okay, or you should prolong more? 3 days, 4 days, 5 days? But only one session every day. And 3 coffee breaks in between. Yes. I know Saturday is not a working day, that's why your mind is not working. I understand now. Yes. Yes, please. Now, student Swaminathan is speaking, not moderator Swaminathan is speaking. Yes.
One more day could be added. It was too short, so at least 3 days would be enriching. You can also think of inviting theological faculty if possible, so that it can be enriched more, because we are also talking about God and things like that. Secondly, I also found the representation of the women in paper presentation was minimal, given the number of sisters we have in the campus and all the sisters outside the campus. We should have more women representation. At least for that sake, we need one more day. Thank you.
So women, please take note of it. Yeah. See, sisters are afraid of misters, I think. Huh? Or the sisters may think, oh, these fellows know what, they will not understand our great ideas. Okay, but it's apart from the lighter note. Please make it a point next time, all right? Because now we have five sisters in the second year, the third year also. So next time they will. We need not give the whole day for them, because they have enough to talk, I know, but we need kind of whole day, but at least one session, all right? Sure, most welcome sisters, please take note of it, yeah. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
So Father, I was happy with the session. It was 1.5 days. Most of us have ministry at times, different communities, they have ministries on Saturdays and Sundays. So I felt this was a worthy investment of our time here. Thank you, Father.
Good, yeah, thank you. Maybe we can think of weekdays, like, no, instead of involving Saturday. It's a good idea. Thank you. Someone said everything we like except the attendance part. That I leave it to the team. Okay? Anything else? Because Dean was worried about our attendance also, that's why. Yeah. Okay, so from your face we can understand that you all enjoyed, benefited. Say yes. Good. All those who say yes, please put your hands. Oh, so many hands. Thank you. Yeah. So keep it up. So next year we plan to have more institutes also, because all the paper presenters on my part, no, they really did a great job, no, serious thinking, lot of serious planning, and they consulted their own faculty members in their respective houses or their institutes, and they were quite bold also in presenting, also in answering the questions, and they had the clarity. They may not know everything about, suppose, Levinas, everything about Levinas, but whatever they presented, they were clear. And they could say, we were focusing on this particular aspect, the other aspects we look into it. Similarly, Jeevan also said, no, one or two, you pointed to the gaps in my research, right? Like that, so they are aware, and when questions and comments are coming up, it helps them also, so we appreciate them. All right, now to appreciate all our speakers and the moderators, here we have for the Registrar Peter Ignatius to distribute the certificates to them. And for Parshus, will read out the names, institute, the order of paper presentation. So please come over and receive your certificate and the book.
Hello.
Students can come up on my left and get back on the left hand side. Yeah.
Okay, we have the first institute, that is St. Joseph's Capuchin Institute of Philosophy and Religion, Kotagiri. And we have Vikas Maji and Leonie, please come. They have presented on the paper Towards Ecocentric Ethics and Practices. Next, we have Calvary Institute of Philosophy and Religion, Thrissur, Jose George and Jose Matthew. They presented on the paper entitled From War to the Other, a philosophical reflection on violence and ethics.
This is
Next, we have Arulanandar College, Karumatur, Tamil Nadu, Kishore Suresh, and Jaspir Singh. Their presentation was reconceptualizing violence beyond armed conflicts as a second perspective. Next, St. Joseph's Institute of Philosophy, Aluwe. Matthew Tumpunkal and Anto Joseph. Their paper was on interfacing science and religion, resolving epistemic tensions. Next, we have Vishwa Jyoti Institute of Philosophy, Varanasi. Abhijit George and Viren Lakra. Their paper was Moral Responsibility and Environmental Injustice, a philosophical reflection on the plight of the poor along the Ganga in Varanasi. Next, we have St. Albert's Institute of Philosophy, Ranchi. Sister Jocelyn Roseka and Sachin Kujur. Their paper, Chotanagpur Tribal Cosmology and its Relevance in Contemporary Society. Next, Good Shepherd Institute of Philosophy, Kunot. Steve Paul and Sharon Pulikotel. Their paper, The Debate on the Relationship Between Faith and Reason. Next, we have Jnana Niketan Institute of Philosophy and Religion, Alwe. Naveen Joseph and Tom Joseph. They presented on the truth in politics, the dawn of sophists in contemporary Indian politics. Next, we have Mary Mata Institute of Philosophy, Thrissur, Alan Saji and Sharon Joseph. Their paper, Cognitive Erosion and the Collapse of the Real, a philosophical analysis of social media through Ying-Chul Han and Jean Baudrillard. Then we have following students from Jnanadeepa Pontifical Athenaeum, Pune. Arun Kumar and Albin D. Philosophy, a beacon for the modern youth. Next, Albin Pius and Sujin Manuel. Their paper was Countering Post-Truth in India, the role of philosophy and critical thinking. Next, we have Kalai Selvan and Sam Alexander. They presented the paper, Knowledge Management in the 21st Century. And last, we have John Oscar and Jivan Sadhvik, who presented on incorporation of migrants into new cultures while retaining their identity. Then we have also our moderators who did a wonderful job. So may I invite them as well. Therein was Swaminathan, Polaso Wexter, Kritik Hazara, Nilima Bhengra. Derin, and next is Swaminathan, then Kolaso, Kritik, Nilima.
He's also our teacher man.
Thank you, Father Peter Ignatius, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you for register, not only for this, for all his support and encouragement throughout in all our activities. He's a man full of dynamism and life. His classes, those who attended will know how he is jumping. The whole being will be teaching. So thank you, Father, for being with us. Yes. All right. So, planning for the next year, any quick points you'd like to have? One thing is that we can have 3 days. That we will leave to the administration to see the budget part of it and when to situate also. Is this time of the year okay? End of August like this? Yeah. Any other quick points? And there was, yes. So please, Mike, for Peter.
We appreciate it, and he did very well. I think you should give him a...
Yes. And this year? Yeah. Okay. Right. So anything else also you can always let us know to improve upon our great efforts. As we said, this is the first ever colloquium to bring all our affiliated institutes. And perhaps next year, we can think of other institutes, but next year we can have it here, Jnanadeepa again, because that would be the 100th year of Jnanadeepa becoming Pontifical Athenaeum. In 1926, Papal Seminary was elevated to Pontifical Athenaeum, so next year, 2026, will be the 100th year. So we're having some centenary celebrations to mark that. We can have that colloquium here. Maybe after that, we can think of other affiliated institutes. So Papal Seminary gave birth to Jnanadeepa. Now Jnanadeepa has given birth to so many affiliated institutes. So Papal Seminary has many grandchildren now. So we should be happy about it. All right. And on a personal note, there will be another vote of thanks officially. On a personal note, I appreciate really all the paper presenters for the time they've invested. And when they present, also full of passion, enthusiasm, and it's a collaboration among the presenters also. And they must have discussed, I'm sure, with the faculty members there and the brothers, students there. So that brings out the synodality, as Posa mentioned, our Vice Chancellor mentioned. And it's also, you got a chance that to have a darshan of our Vice Chancellor also. Or it is not possible for him to visit all the affiliated institutes. It's good that he came here and spent some time with us. And yeah, maybe one point, some of you said inclusive language is better. Man, man. Instead of saying man, we can say, right, human beings or humanity or people in general. Because students of philosophy must be a little sensitive to that. Once in a seminar, one professor gave a paper. He said man, man, and in the beginning he said, though I say man, I include woman also. So I'm not male chauvinistic, but I say man. And then in the interaction I said, in that case, why don't we say woman and include man also? Even the spelling includes that. So to be gender sensitive, that language can be thought of. And then the professors, lecturers in the respective institutes, we are grateful to them. And the heads of the institutes who send their students here. And also the overall coordination committee, as we all know. The Lucas, our licensed student, Bluston third year, Edwin James second year, Edwin Joseph first year. And along with them, all the different other committees. Let's put our hands together to give a big round of applause. Various committees of publicity, invitation, events management, hospitality, media committee, and media association, and Sumita and Co, our electrician, sound and light. All these people are really put in there a lot of efforts. I never knew that our students are so effective. You see, they always rise up to the occasion and make every event a grand success. So, thank you very much. And our office staff and support staff. And for Derin needs a special mention. Where is Derin? Yes. He is a guest manager in Paper Seminary. Along with him, many others were working. And then refectorians there, Iwin, Jamin, Basil, and others to look into the minute details of all their stay. And one important person I forgot to thank. Who is that? Parshius, right? He is also, for this 1 month, he has been my right hand. So all this 1 month, I did not have my right hand. It was with him. So Parshius, where are you? Yeah. So please stand up, and yeah, this is Parshius. Yes. Good. Thank you. Right. Now here we have Nishant Dean to make some observations and his comments.
Of course, it's a wrong time to make a long observation. I must say that everything went on well, thanks to the different members who were behind this, in particular, Stephen J.R. for Parshius, and all the student volunteers, the class reps and the volunteering team. They did a wonderful job. It looks as though it's a very small, minor event, but then a lot of hard work has gone into making this event a memorable one, an enriching one, a learning experience for each one of us. I have been a little harsh occasionally, particularly when the audio went off. I really kind of lost my cool a bit. I hope you guys don't mind. That's how I am. I don't mean anything wrong, but then I just tend to express myself as I am. I'm very realist in that sense. I don't know to wear a mask, you see. I don't have a persona. So anyway, thank you. The media team also have worked a lot. It's not very easy to prepare a link and then to be attentive about it. There could be any technical glitch. All of them, the whole of media team, the photographers, the video shooters, those who are doing the live streaming. It was excellent of you to have done a good job. I must also thank all the directors of the affiliated and aggregated institutes because right from the beginning, they were involved in the planning. We started a year ago. They were also giving their input. Online discussion we had a couple of times. Of course, it was coordinated by Stephen J.R. And they were very kind enough to send their student representatives, and I'm sure they prepared you well. Not only they kind of encouraged you, motivated you, I'm sure they were also involved in helping you in the preparation, as many of you recognize that, the staff, the faculty have helped you in preparing your paper. So thank you to each one of them, though they are not here. At some point in time, I'll communicate this message of gratitude to them personally. I must thank, of course, our beloved registrar, all the administrative staff, starting from president and others, but of course in a special way to registrar. Every time when we have a meeting like this, I entrust the whole of refreshment arrangement to him. And he has a very good imagination about it. And then he knows what students like and what would be the best kind of snacks he can provide. Of course, this time I had to sit with him and say, reduce some of the snacks because the budget doesn't allow it, Otherwise, he had really prepared a very elaborate kind of snacks. I'm sorry we couldn't provide because the budget we didn't foresee. But next year, we'll make it a little more elaborate. And I'm sure he enjoyed that. I think he deserves a special appreciation because he is really very particular about making the students feel comfortable, not only in terms of the learning experience, but also the interaction that we have during coffee break. And thank you very much, Father, for that. And of course, Herman and all the support staff as well. So many people are involved. I can't name all of them, including our own office staff, the faculty secretary, and the support staff are fixing many things, this light and minute details have been attended to. So I can't name anyone in particular for the fear of missing out any. So they all deserve great appreciation. I will communicate to them personally about the whole event, how it went on. The doctoral students, of course, I requested one of them should give a keynote address, and they came together and they agreed among them that Andrew would give the keynote speech, and I think he did a very good job. So the whole of doctoral students, I'm very grateful to you. the licentiate students as well for motivating the youngsters, for sometimes initiating the conversation, the question answers, for moderating the sessions. I mean, they all kind of did a wonderful job, keeping the time and so on. Also our sister students, both in the licentiate and the baccalaureate, they did a lot of work in terms of, though they should have presented papers, they contributed differently, to ensure that everything runs smooth. The aesthetic part of it was very much guided by them. Of course, the brothers also worked along with them, but they were guiding them. This would be better. They even told me, Father, this flower vase is not looking good. But then Stephen was insistent we keep it. So I was caught up between two opinions. Anyway, we kept something like that. So, they were very much involved in the planning and the execution of that. Thank you very much. Next year, we hope that you will give some papers. We are looking forward to it. Each one of the students present here, some of you have very valid reasons, even apostolate and so on, but then you were kind enough. Also the students who were involved in the hospitality team, I see them carrying big things over, different committees, so you have been doing a good job. Those who are also taking care of our guest students, I don't know so many of you, so I can't name any of you. I hope you feel comfortable, your stay, your food and so on. I was not personally able to follow it up, but I think, and Stephen was very much particular, he was always spending time with you and trying to make some little outing for you and so on. So anyway, thanks for all of you for your wonderful support. I have no much observation. I have only to say thanks to each one of you that we have such an enriching experience, and if I have ended up hurting anyone, I didn't really mean it. I'm sorry about that. It's just a way I express myself. You know me by now sufficiently. Thank you and all the best. Take care.
So thank you, Nishant. Our dean is a very realistic man. When the audio and the streaming went down, his audio went up. So there's a compensation. So thank you, Nishant. All right. We had 9 institutes giving 1 paper. Some of you may be wondering why JD got 4 papers. It is because of the number of students present here, both licentiate level, baccalaureate level, and doctor level. That's why 4 papers were given. Otherwise, if there are more time, one more day, we can give more papers also. In fact, first in the beginning, we thought individual, every person coming from outside one session. Then we thought of time constraints. This evening also, there is another program in the same hall. So we have to rush up and squeeze some of these things. But in spite of that, we made it a little relaxing. And Nishant made a mention about the snacks. You all like the snacks? So this is an appeal to the registrar. Next year, after every session, there should be a coffee break. All right? So good, thank you. So with this, we hand over to younger son for official formal vote of thanks. Yes.
Vote of thanks, part 3. Respected dignitaries, dear professors, and my dear paper presenters and student friends, it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this enriching student colloquium on the relevance of philosophy today, organized for the affiliated and aggregated institutes of Pontifical Athenaeum Jnanadeepa. First and foremost, we thank Almighty God, the source of wisdom and grace, for blessing this gathering with inspiration and fruitful exchanges. My deep-seated gratitude to the faculty members from the affiliated institutes, Dr. John Selvaraj from Arlander Institute of Philosophy, Madurai, Dr. Gulshan Mins from St. Albert Institute of Philosophy, Ranchi, and Dr. John Peter Valabadas from St. Joseph Institute of Philosophy, Kotagiri. Many thanks to our keynote speaker, Father Andrew Francis, for his insightful sharing on the theme. We are deeply grateful to all the presenters from St. Joseph's, Arulander, Jnanadeepa, Vishwajyoti, St. Albert's, Good Shepherd, St. Joseph, Mary Mada, Jnana Niketan, and Calvary Institutes of Philosophy. They have presented to us thought-provoking reflections ranging from science and religion, environmental ethics, social media critics, political philosophy, tribal cosmology, and post-truth challenges. Each presentation demonstrated that philosophy is not a mere academic exercise, but a living force engaging with the most urgent concerns of our time. And thanks to the professors who guided them to come up with philosophically rich papers. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the moderators of the academic session who skillfully guided the sessions and ensured the smooth flow of discussions. I extended my heartfelt gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Jerome Stanislas D'Souza, our President, Dr. Dolichan Kolarat, our Registrar, Dr. Peter Ignatius, and our Dean of Philosophy, Dr. Nishant Irde Dasan, for their extended guidance and support. Heartfelt thanks to Dr. Roland Coelho, the Rector, and the community members of Papal Seminary for gracefully providing our guests with food and accommodation. Gratitude to Father Herman Turkey, the administrator, and Mr. Alban, the electrician, and all the support staff for their help and support. Special thanks to Dr. Stephen Jayat and Dr. Parsius Marak, the organizers of JD-AAI Colloquium, who have put their hearts and souls into the precise planning and execution of this successful event. May I now call upon Father Lucas to facilitate these two great minds with a gift. Father Parsius, please come to the stage. Thank you, Father Lucas. A word of thanks is also due to all the MCs of various committees, faculty members, volunteers, and especially to JD Media Association members whose tireless efforts made this colloquium possible. Your dedication behind the scenes ensured that we could all enjoy these days of intellectual exchange in an atmosphere of hospitality and order. Finally, to all participants, thank you for your attentive presence, your questions, and your openness to dialogue. Philosophy remains relevant today precisely because of such shared engagement in truth-seeking across contexts and traditions. As we move forward, may this colloquium inspire us to continue integrating philosophy into life, faith, and society, keeping alive its mission to question, to critique, and to illuminate the human journey. We look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you, one and all.
We also wish a safe journey to our guest students back home. The first batch, lunch batch, will be leaving at 3 o'clock, right? But have lunch before that. Have lunch, and then subsequently 4 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So safe journey. Carry our greetings to your institute and your friends there. So AAI means Affiliated Aggregated Institutes. After the colloquium, we all have become AAI students. What is that? Amazingly, abundantly intelligent students. Keep it up. Thank you.
To conclude our session with unity and spirit, let us all rise and join in singing the Pontifical Athenaeum Gnanadeepa anthem.
हर पल गाएंगे हम गीत तेरा, तू ही तो माता पिता, तू ही गुरु मीत हमारा। नमन तुझे, सलाम तुझे, तू ज्ञान दीप हमारा। नमन तुझे, सलाम तुझे, तू ज्ञान दीप हमारा। तू ही तो देता विवेक दान में विश्वास हमारा, विश्वास हमारा। जीवन में हर पल गाएंगे हम गीत तेरा, तू ही तो माता पिता, तू ही गुरु मीत हमारा।
Thank you everyone for your gracious presence and contribution to the success of JD-AAI Student Colloquium. We look forward to meeting you again next year with renewed enthusiasm and deeper collaboration. Wishing you all a safe journey back home and God's blessings. Thank you. Kindly sign your attendance and then leave. Thank you.
I request all the volunteers to help out in rearranging.